Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Northern Perspective. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Tanya.
And I'm not going to say it. I'm going to let Brock say it.
What the hell is going on?
How do you think Liberal voters are feeling right now?
This.
Emotional damage.
There's going to be a lot of memes tonight, folks. I just have a feeling. I have a feeling, and I guess that means...
Oh,
You guys are going to love this one.
What a couple of days. Oh, my goodness.
It's been a total gong show.
Yeah. Knees down, ankles down, asses up. There's certainly no elbows up, I can tell you that. But it has been crazy, folks. Absolutely crazy. And here's the problem with this whole thing. As much as I enjoy seeing Carney flounder, the problem is it's at the expense of Canada.
Right. It hurts us as a country.
So it's tough navigating this mentally.
But I heard a rumor this week that the NDP aren't going to be sitting idle. They want more seats. So I think that Dan and Bob's initial prediction of getting an election in like a year and a half, maybe 2 years may come to fruition. Again, we don't know. We don't predict the future. But we had heard that their goal is to move up to at least... What was it? 14 seats they want. They want to at least double their seat count so they can get party status again.
Well, this is what we heard, and it's from a very reliable source. So, what's that? The Globe and Mail says we can't reveal the source because the source wasn't authorized to reveal the information. I think that's what they say. There's actually some. What's the word? Oh yeah, common sense creeping back into the NDP. We were talking about this shortly after the election, after Don Davies took over as interim leader. We heard Jenny Kwan, talk about what happened. And I had said at the time, it's nice to see that the NDP is actually being honest with themselves and they're not deluding themselves. So it sounds like, well, not sounds like, so what we heard is the NDP have said, listen, we are not going to be talking about forming government anymore.
Well, because it was a joke. It was an absolute joke. Are you going to tell me that Jagmeet Singh was going to be Prime Minister of this country? They did not have the numbers behind them.
Are you going to tell me that the NDP will ever be, the ruling party of this country?
Maybe they could have under Jack Layton and / Tom Mulcair because, they were official opposition. But... Again, I think they should have called the election back in 2024 when we said they should have, because then they would have been the official opposition.
Well, so they said that our dream, we're not going to be talking about running government anymore. Everyone was laughing at us, and we know we're never going to form government. We knew when Jagmeet was saying that he's going to be the prime minister that we're never going to form government. Right now, our goal is just to get back to party status, and then we will build from there. So this is actually a good thing because it means that the NDP have been completely humbled. They understand the chessboard, and they understand that right now they're basically not on it, and they need to reset and they need to rebuild. But what they also said was, don't get too comfortable in this government. That's what they also said. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to be voting non-confidence in a month or so.
No, because they need a leader.
Yes, they need to reset, they need to regroup, they need to get their leader, and they need to continue to work and establish their own identity. So
they need another leader like Layton or Mulcair because, Jagmeet Singh came in and he completely destroyed that party. They went from, over 100 seats down to 7 now?
Something like that. I think they were at
Insane.
104.
And look at their financial troubles as well.
Right.
That's crazy.
And Jagmeet's like, bye!
Yeah, and that happened in 6 years.
Yeah.
Insane.
So this is really, really, really good news to hear the NDP say that. And the other good news is that it's nice to see 3 actual opposition parties working together.
Right.
Instead of 2 plus the government plus 1.
Yeah, we need a strong opposition in this country. And we saw what happened with Bill C-5 when we have a strong opposition, is that the opposition is able to get bills amended so that they are better for Canadians. They're not, like, the opposition's job is not to completely oppose absolutely everything that the government puts in. It's to make sure that it is a good bill for everyone.
Right. So so that was actually really good to see, good to hear. But as I say, onward and upward. And speaking of upward, we were close. We were close in our prediction about the by-election for Battle River Crowfoot. It was announced today. Carney kept his word. How can you not when you've had this many fails already? You know, you don't want to add one more to that. So he kept his word, and I was actually surprised. They went 1 week further than August 11th.
I said it would be the 18th was a possibility, if you remember.
Yeah, you said it was a possibility.
I said it was a possibility. I didn't think it was likely, but it was possible because it would have been exactly 51 days.
So there you go. So if you are in the riding of Battle River Crowfoot, you have a vote to cast. Well, I guess there's going to be... Is there advanced ballots in by-elections?
Yep.
I think there
are.
are.
There usually are, yep.
So you have some votes to cast over the coming month, and we'll see what happens there. But for any of you that are in the riding that are looking to help out, contact the Battle River Crowfoot EDA. I'm sure they would welcome all the volunteers that they can get, and they want to slam dunk this. So that means that lots of volunteers, lots of help, financial support towards the EDA if you want to do that. We don't like to encourage people to donate to anything like that, but that's an option for you.
I mean, if you want to do it, and remember that if you donated to the National Party during the regular election, you can also donate to the EDA level during the by-election or general election, whatever it happens to be. In this case, it's a by-election. They're considered like two different parties. So you have like your EDA level. So for us, that's Hamilton East Stony Creek, or we're talking about Battle River Crowfoot. That's another EDA. And then you have like your national party. So you can donate to both if you want. So
anyway, so that's awesome. And we wish him luck. And we salute every day. We salute Damien Curick in his patriotism and his mantra of country before party and party before self, right? So kudos to him for doing that. Anyway, before we get started, we only have a quarter of the likes for the viewers that are in, so NP Nation,
please hit that like button. You know what to do.
I assign that responsibility to you.
It's free for now, so make sure you do it.
Yeah, it is free for now. But anyway, before we go any further, let's go to house rules.
The house rules are the same 3 rules as always. Number 1, please respect each other and the show. Number 2, no selling, soliciting, or spamming in the chat. And number 3, please don't use profanity. I believe that this evening we have, I didn't actually see our moderators this evening. We have Jester and we have Randy, he's going by this time, both from Northern Perspective in the chat, and we also have Barnaby from Northern Perspective who will be collecting questions this evening. So if you'd like to ask us a question for the Q&A portion of the show, please tag at Barnaby from Northern Perspective, and he will grab the questions and copy and paste them up for us.
Go ahead. And why is Barnaby or I don't know what's going on.
Did Barnaby change his name?
Well, I think YouTube made a change because I see NP Mod 2. So.
Oh.
Anyway, lots of fun. Anyway.
So Barnaby is now known as NP Mod 2.
There you go. Anyway, get your questions into Barnaby now. I saw a couple of questions in chat that people were asking, so go ahead and tag him and throw your questions at him, and we will see if we can get to them in question period.
A few other things. Make sure that you sign our petition. I will grab the link for you guys. We are currently the #1 most signed petition in this parliament. And right now we're over 28,000 signatures. We're at 28,194. So let's see if we can get that up over 30. It is a petition to essentially stop the longest ballot committee, because I will grab my, I put it away. Shoot, I have my rule. It's a meter long. I can't show you because I can't remember where I put it right now, but it's a meter long and it has 94 names on that particular ballot, I believe, or 91.
It's longer than the list of Trudeau scandals.
I'm pretty sure it's longer than Vincent is tall right now.
There you go.
So we want to prevent that from happening because it's very expensive to print ballots that large, and they're very difficult for elections workers to handle, and they're difficult for Canadians to handle too, who are just trying to cast their votes. So if you haven't already, please sign the petition. You do have to wait for an email to arrive in your inbox from the House of Commons. Open that email and then click the link inside, and that confirms your signature. And let's see if we can get it over 30,000.
All right. Let's get to some of the pre-chat activity. And
Did you want to make the announcement about the event?
go ahead.
Okay, so we have confirmed a date for our carousel event. It's a book signing event in Port Dalhousie, which is part of St. Catharines. And it's going to be at the Lakeside Carousel from 1 to 3 p.m. on July the 22nd. Hold on. Nope, the 20th, which is the Sunday. So July 20th from 1 to 3 p.m. It will be rain or shine because the carousel is covered inside a pavilion. And also where we'll be signing the books is going to be covered inside a tent. So it doesn't matter if it's raining. And there is paid parking available on site. And otherwise, you can come and ride the carousel for free between those hours because Northern Perspective is sponsoring it.
Bring your kids, and we'll also be selling books there as well if you want to sell a book and get it autographed as well. So
Yeah, or if you've already bought one from Amazon or Indigo and you'd like to
Bring it
have
down.
us sign it, bring it over.
we're not going to charge you for signing. This is not Fan Expo, so we're just happy to see everybody. So anyway, all right. So Quentin Begamery for $7. Quote, "This is the West, sir. When the legend becomes fact, print the legend," end quote. Unfortunately, this is becoming more and more common in social media. There you go. And this is going to be lots of fun, I think, tonight with this YouTube change. Lawrence Neal for $10. Thank you very, very much. Could you arrange to contact Deep Space Nine and ask Quark to become the next finance minister? This is a more realistic way of getting a decent budget, financial responsibility, and accountability. Well, the problem is then we're going to have to learn all of the rules of acquisition. And there's lots of them. There's lots and lots and lots of them. And we'd have to completely convert our currency to gold press latinum.
My God, you're a nerd.
I'm just responding to Lawrence Neal here. And there's lots of Star Trek nerds in chat. We know this by now. Lawrence Neal with another $5. Not to mention, Quark is also a master in the art of negotiation. Right?
Better than Carney.
Allegedly, Carney is too. Come on. We should be blessed. And Jilly Beans for $5. Ding dong, elbows went down so fast that Carney's head went in the sand and his buttocks went up instead. Q.
Emotional damage.
Thank you. And Janker dropping a Northern Perspective gifted membership. Thank you very much. Goko Dani. How sad is it that I see your YouTube name and I know what your actual name is. Goko Dani dropping 10 Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very, very much. And Repeat in BC, member for 16 months. Happy Almost Canada Day, NP Nation. Absolutely. And Comic Book Guy. I wish I knew a comic book quote. Member for 10 months. 2-minute minor for elbowing. Right. Right. Or is it 2 years? And we have Michael N. for $10. Thank you very much. What is with all this double talk and double think? Carney is a fraud. Liberal campaign was fraud. And in my opinion, Liberals are still embezzling millions. Utterly disgusted. Thanks for all you do, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. And let's just see. This is Gordon Meir dropping 10 Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you very, very much for that, Gordon. Much appreciated. And if you get a membership from one of these fine folks that is gifting them tonight, please give them a huge thank you. And I want to make sure that this is matching your channel name. Anubis Hades for $5. Thank you very much. Do you think Trump will go after the Online News Act that makes Google pay and other platforms pay for Canadian news links, which is basically a tax?
I don't know.
Who knows?
Because I think Australia and possibly France also do something similar. But I had read it, and it was an opinion piece, so it's not really to be taken as fact. But I recall reading an opinion piece where they said that Google might not pay it next time because Facebook was able to get out of it. So we'll see, I guess. I think it's ridiculous. I mean, as a business like Northern Perspective, right, we want our links to appear on Facebook, on Google.
We don't care if we don't get paid
Instagram.
for it.
Yeah, because it drives traffic to your channel or your website, and you run ads on those places, and that's where your revenue comes from. So this is just ridiculous to me. I think the newspapers went, oh, people aren't advertising with us anymore, because the classifieds counted for something like up to 50%, of revenue for newspapers. So people aren't advertising in classifieds anymore. They're doing it on Facebook Marketplace, for example. Yep. And all these executives got together and went, how are we going to make up this revenue? Oh, I know. We'll do a link tax. It's ridiculous.
Well, and all the IT people in chat and all the IT people that are watching maybe tomorrow, I know you were just as frustrated as I was back in the early 2000s and late 90s when you're trying to tell the executives at these companies, you need to have an internet presence. Oh, the internet's a fad. Go away. It's a fad. Nothing's going to replace classifieds. Yeah, they said nothing was going to replace the horse and buggy too. And how did that work out? So this has been the most frustrating thing. And now, because these people are so inept at running their businesses, they say, well, we didn't change our business model until it was too late. Well,
so government give us money.
So yeah, government give us money because it's not our fault somehow. And we have Trish Pearl, member for 19 months. Thank you very much. An American commentator said, if Trump can affect Canada so much, we might as well call ourselves the 51st state. Hit that like button, everybody.
Yes, please do.
I disagree with that.
But hit the like button you agree with for sure.
Yes. Yes.
And I just want to make a small note tonight. I don't know what's going on with YouTube, but they're showing us everybody's like sign-in names instead of your actual names. So if we make a mistake or we sound like we don't know what we're doing, that's why.
Randy was, I think, explaining this earlier in chat. So if you joined after the fact, Randy's aware of the change. So
YouTube did something, unfortunately, we have no control over. So we're seeing everybody's like handles instead of their names.
We're up to 1,300 likes, 2,700 viewers, 1,400 behind, folks. Let's go. And I think this is just Cass, I think.
Yes, it is.
I'm on the ball. For $10, quote, you can avoid reality, but you cannot avoid the consequences of avoiding reality, end quote. Something liberal voters don't seem to understand. They flip-flop like fish out of water to defend their bad choices. Yeah, you got that right.
Yeah, I think it's like a lot of cognitive dissonance going on. You don't want to admit that maybe you made a mistake voting for this guy and that maybe the fate of the country is your fault.
And Sean, member for 20 months. Thank you so much. Hey, happy Canada Day to everybody. 5-day countdown until the big day for me. Where Bachelor
yes,
life
congratulations.
Is over. Sean Lefty Legend's
That's
getting
so
married. So
that's awesome.
Many people will say congratulations. Some people will say condolences. Whatever. Don't listen to all of them. Don't listen to any of them. Congratulations, sir.
That's the correct one.
Yes.
Congratulations.
And Michael N for $2. What is the likelihood Pierre loses the by-election? Well, let's.
I don't imagine it's strong. Damien Kirk won with 81% of the vote, and from what I understand, he is beloved by the people of Battle River Crowfoot, and he has been pushing very hard for Pierre. He's been out campaigning, and there's photos on Facebook and on social media of Pierre and Damien together. So
it's extremely unlikely.
Yeah.
I would, if that was something you could bet money on, I'd probably bet a lot of money on it that he would not lose that and he would win it. There's a reason why the Conservatives picked this riding.
Yeah.
There's a reason why.
But if you want to help those chances, you can always volunteer in the campaign. They need volunteers the same way that a general election needs volunteers. So if you're in the area and you do want to help and volunteer, you can contact the EDA and they'll get you set up.
Mm-hmm. And Libby T for $2. How is the petition for the longest ballot going? I think we already.
Yeah, we're over 28,000. Next stop is 30,000. So please make sure that you go sign that petition. I had dropped the link in the chat, and it's probably also in the description. We usually put it in the description of things. Yes, it is. It's the very top of the description box. It says sign the petition. You can click that link, and it'll take you to sign it.
Cool. And Nelik for $5. Thank you very much. Hey guys, as mentioned last week's stream, I can arrange an interview with Jeff Rath from APP. Sent you an email about it. Thank you very much, Nelik. We'll take a look at that and we'll let you know. We'll get back to you.
Sorry. Stop.
What?
Pazuzu's trying to chew the cords.
Oh. That's all we need.
Orange cats have one brain cell.
And Nikki Hensel, Freedom Artist. Thank you very much for $5. Very much appreciated. Stephen Epp, for 9 months. Remember, hit that like button if you haven't already signed the petition. Thank you to you two for everything you do. Keep up the work you do. Thank you very, very much. We very much appreciate that.
There you go.
Okay, so.
There he is.
This is not the Governor General. He's too stupid. So,
poor guy just had some teeth out this week, so his gums are probably healing. That's why he's trying to chew stuff.
Anyway, okay, folks. We got some good content for you tonight. At least I think it's good. So, I want to take everybody back to an extreme cringe moment. If you haven't seen this, I don't know whether to say you're welcome or I apologize, but I've said both, so now I'm covered. And shortly after, and I mean shortly after the election result was announced, Mark Carney decided to do a little dance, and he fancies himself a hip-hop fan, I guess. And his wife joined him. And we normally don't show this type of stuff, but because it's symbolic of his whole bluster, the entire campaign and his leadership campaign, I think it's appropriate before we get into the content that follows that. So let's take a look.
Oh, thank goodness you made it very short.
It's very short. Very short.
Dies of cringe.
Very short. Like,
don't play it again.
What the hell is going on?
I thought you were going to do it again. I was going to tackle you.
So, yeah. It was pretty bad. But there's a reason. There's a reason why I'm showing all this crazy, silly stuff. So, earlier today, Mr. Carney came out and had a statement. And for those of you that don't know, I'm pretty sure all of you know, but just in case you didn't. So, Carney was at the G7 and Trump was talking to him about this digital service tax. And the digital service tax that was implemented by the Trudeau government, no doubt on Mark Carney's advice, because he was advising them how to raise additional revenue and all this other stuff. So they implemented it last year. The first payment was due June 30th, today, of 2025. And at the G7, Mark Carney was being advised by Donald Trump, hey, take that crap off. And Francois Philippe Champagne came out and said, we are not going to be taking off the DST tax. It's going to be raising $7 billion in revenue for us lawyers. Okay? So then Trump comes out and says, that's it. No more trade negotiations. You guys are done. Tired of this DST crap. I'm done. So then Mark Carney had a choice, and his choice was keep the DST going or not. Well, faster than you can say elbows down, Mark Carney decided to capitulate and rescind the digital services tax. And then he came out and made a bit of a statement today. And ladies and gentlemen, look at the body language, but let the gaslighting begin.
Last night I had a good conversation with President Trump, and we agreed to recommence our negotiations with a view to the 21st of July deadline that we had agreed in Kananaskis, Minister Champagne and LeBlanc had conversations with their counterparts as well. We've restarted the discussions this morning.
Did you get anything in exchange for?
We have, to be clear, it's part of a bigger negotiation. It's something that we expected in the broader sense that would be part of a final deal. We're making progress towards a final deal. There's more to be done, to be clear. And as I just said, which answers the translation question, as I just said, is a question of timing in terms of the date for the final negotiations and when the tax was coming into effect. And it doesn't make sense to collect tax from people and then remit them back. So it provides some certainty. And as I just said, negotiations have restarted. We're going to focus on getting the best deal for Canadians. We're making progress. There's more to do, and we'll keep you updated.
Okay. So he kind of jogged through that, but there were some significant things that he said in there. So, number one, the question was, did you get anything in return, Mr. Master Negotiator?
I think we all know the answer to that.
Mr. I'm a businessman. Mr. I'm an outsider. Mr. I know how to deal with Donald Trump. I know how to stand up to Donald Trump. Did you get anything in return? And, and then this is the gaslighting part. He says, well, this is something that we always expected to do, and it was going to be part of a larger discussion. So what he just said, folks.
We were always going to use this as a bargaining tool.
After Champagne steps forward and says, the DST will go ahead as planned, Mark Carney says, yeah, we were always planning on giving it up.
No, you weren't. That was, what, $7 billion worth of revenue?
Are you kidding me?
When you've already lost $20 billion from tariffs because you got rid of those before the election even happened? So we're up to, what, 27 by my count? Probably more.
He's trying to tell everybody that we were going to collect all of this money from all of these tech agencies, and then after we canceled it, we were going to give it all back.
Sure.
A liberal giving back money. Just saying. This is what he wants people to believe. This is what he wants people to swallow and say, see, I got Trump right where I want him. Well, ladies and gentlemen, nobody believes that. And I mean nobody. Because I stopped the clip early. Listen to what this reporter says and yells at Mark Carney as he's on his way out.
The White House says you caved. Is that how it went down?
Yeah, that's how it went down.
The White House says you caved. Is that how it went down?
Seems like it.
Mr. Carney, where are you going?
Seems like it. And this whole, we were going to do it anyways thing is just a cover up. More gaslighting to the Canadian public.
And if you don't believe me that this is what the White House says, and I know most of you do.
But we like to show our receipts.
If you don't believe me, here's the White House press secretary. Maybe you'll believe her.
It's very simple. Prime Minister Carney in Canada caved to President Trump in the United States of America. And President Trump knows how to negotiate, and he knows that he is governing the best country and the best economy in this world, on this planet. And every country on the planet needs to have good trade relationships with the United States. And it was a mistake for Canada to vow to implement that tax that would have hurt our tech companies here in the United States.
Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump is taking a victory lap. And this could not make Canada look any more weak. Now, let's just level set here. We are not saying that the digital services tax was a good idea.
No, it was a terrible idea.
The point is that this shouldn't have been implemented in the first place, because as soon as they did that, they were antagonizing the U.S. Now, even Joe Biden and the Democrat government that was in power last year, they were ticked off at this as well. So this isn't just a Donald Trump thing. This is a United States thing. So back then, they had the U.S. ambassador under Joe Biden saying, this is stupid. You need to take this off. This is going to be problematic in the future. So this is not a Donald Trump thing. This is a United States thing. And this is something that the U.S. had said to Canada, we're going to work with you to implement. Now, Chrystia Freeland came out and said, well, it's taking too long, so we're just going to move ahead.
And again, this is what I was saying to Ryan this morning. The main reason I didn't record the video with him was because I had like just gotten out of the shower, and Ryan was like, oh, this happened, we got to go record a video. And I'm like, well, I'm going to be another hour at least to get my hair and makeup ready. So, you know, go do it yourself. But the thing I had said was that Carney is treating this like it's a boardroom and that all the other countries are competitors. They're not. You need to form good relationships with our neighboring countries, especially, but also with countries that are like-minded, similar to Canada, so Western nations. You need to form good relationships. You cannot treat them like they're competitors. You cannot be adversarial towards them. And the way that at the G7, Trump had, you know, tried to say, well, why don't we work on something together, like hold off and we'll figure it out. And Carney was all like, no, we're going to go ahead with this. It was a boneheaded move, like absolutely stupid. And instead of being able to leverage that and say, well, okay, you know what, fine, we'll put this aside and we can work on it together. But I want to talk about, for example, the example Pierre gave was softwood lumber tariffs. Instead of Carney saying, well, I'll put it aside if you put aside softwood lumber tariffs.
Well, and...
Well, now he's back at zero, right? He implemented this tax thinking he's going in headstrong. And Trump is like, fine, we're just not going to talk tariffs anymore. See you later. You're gone.
And that's the problem. And that's the chip to get back at the table.
Right.
And, you know, CTV also tried to kind of gaslight this, but also acknowledged that error. Let's take a look at that.
Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives. Good afternoon, and thank you for your time, Stuart. Your perspective on how all of this has played out with the Prime Minister confirming that in the larger scheme of things, we were already expecting something like that to come. That's what he said in Ottawa about 25 minutes ago.
Yeah, that was quite interesting, I thought, just coming out and explaining exactly what the strategy was. They were planning on getting rid of this tax altogether all along. I think it's something trade watchers have been thinking about for a while and seeing for a while. We just expected that capitulation would come down in the context of a renegotiation or review of the Canada-US-Mexico agreement. But here we have it simply to get us back to the table, right? To get us back to what I would call the poker table. And that's a big amount of money to throw on the table, $7 billion, just to get Trump back there. When we know that these negotiations are not going well, from what we can see, it's not even entirely clear that we're going to get a deal where there's no more tariffs, right? This is something that's being floated by the government in conversations with the business sector in Canada. And so it does seem like an extremely high price to pay just to get back to this table without any certainty that a deal is coming or that it's going to be a particularly appetizing deal for Canada.
The Canadian Centre for...
Mark Carney, when he's standing next to Donald Trump, looks like that annoying little brother that wants to be like the big brother. Notice when Donald Trump, you know, put his hand up like this, Mark Carney was like, he was literally trying to copy Trump, and then he looked over. I'm like, see, I'm cool, aren't I, boss?
Carney's just like such an embarrassment. This was a really bad move. Again, it makes Canada look weak. It makes Mark Carney look weak. And now it emboldens the Americans and makes them think that, well, we can push Canada around.
And this is the issue. This is the major issue. And, you know, when I first titled the live stream, I think I said, like, you know, Carney folds, Trump brags, and like something else. And then I actually started to notice that it wasn't just Canada and the US looking at this. This was getting worldwide attention. So it doesn't just make Canada look weak to the United States. It makes Canada look weak to everybody. This is the issue. So here's just some of the headlines that I found while I was browsing cyberspace. So this is from the Washington Times. Canada caves on tech tax, eyes deal during Trump's July trade scramble. This is from the NewJersey.com. In stunning reversal, tough-talking Canadian caves to Trump. This is from Australia. U.S.-Canada trade deal talks restart after Mark Carney drops plans for digital services tax. Sky News Australia. Canada caves to Trump. Canada bends the knee to Donald Trump and drops digital tax on the U.S. And this is probably one of the most significant. This is Financial Times from Britain. Canada scraps tech tax to advance trade talks with Donald Trump. U.S. President described levy as a direct and blatant attack on the country. So,
this is the guy who's going to handle Donald Trump, you guys.
And now the spin. They're trying to
recover so bad.
And it's so terrible.
Like after learning what we have about politics, you and I, and kind of seeing things behind the scenes, you can tell what they're doing. They're trying to mitigate the damage that was just caused. They're trying to spin this for the media.
Well, and this is one of the things that we see in politics. Whenever you make an unexpected screw up, the way to usually play with is, oh, this has been our plan the entire time. And just wait until you see the end game. No. Part of your plan was to make a complete ass of yourself as a prime minister.
Not even nationwide, worldwide.
And this would look, just think about this, folks. This would appear very different if Justin Trudeau was the prime minister. Why? Because he's not a business guy.
Yeah.
And he is a goofball. He's a drama teacher. So this wouldn't have been that big of a deal, in my humble opinion, in worldwide news.
It would have been an eye roll, like, oh, Justin Trudeau is doing something stupid again.
Yeah, and everyone would just like move along. But this is not the same. This is Mr. Business, Mr. Economic Genius, as Tom Mulcair would have everybody believe, and CBC would have everybody believe. He has completely bungled these trade negotiations. And when you're starting from a position of weakness, you can't be making these types of mistakes. Like, if anything, what they should have done after the G7 is said, okay, Mr. Trump, you don't want the digital services tax. Okay, we're going to put a pause on it. We're going to put a pause on it, and let's get through these negotiations, and we can talk about what we want within them. So that way you're not removing it from the chessboard. You're just moving it out of harm's way. But they didn't do that.
But the thing is, the Liberals hate Donald Trump so much that they are not willing to work with him, and they're not willing to play to his ego to try to get things accomplished.
And the other thing that you're hearing, if you watch or read any of the mainstream media, here's the other thing that I saw in the spin from the media. All they're talking about now is reminding Canadians about, well, Trump was mentioned about the 51st state, and a political analyst was saying that he's serious about making Canada 51st. So they're going back to all that crap to try to distract.
Yeah.
Well, they're trying to distract from Carney's screw up. That's what they're trying to do.
That's true too. Because they're not focused on, oh, well, Carney really screwed the pooch on this one. They're trying to focus on, well, Trump is big bad Trump. He's going to, make us the 51st state. He's going to annex Canada, which it's not going to happen.
So there's a lot of sophisticated stuff going on in the background, and a lot of coordination going on in the background as well. Now, at least we got an opinion piece put out in the Globe and Mail where someone was saying, no, Carney, this was a very, 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 very bad move. It was bad policy to begin with, and then it was bad that you actually gave it up.
But now I think the question that remains is, here's another $7 billion that the Liberals had previously budgeted for, and now it's gone. So what is going to happen? Are they going to cut programs? Are they going to cut government jobs? Are they going to borrow more money and drive up inflation? What are they going to do?
Or are they going to tax into oblivion?
Right.
Now, this actually also doesn't help that some financial analysts are actually expecting a recession to start or to continue to get even worse this year. They're saying, well, we're going to have a mild recession. I don't know about you folks, but I'm pretty sure we're in a recession already. But this is what Global News had to say about this when they were talking to Deloitte. Canada's economy shrank in April. Recession risks cannot be ignored. Mild recession this year, Deloitte Canada.
The Canadian economy shrank modestly in April by 0.1%, according to Statistics Canada. That follows an increase of 0.2% in March for real gross domestic product and comes amid fears of a potential recession later this year, spurred by the U.S. trade war. A recession is defined by 2 consecutive quarters of negative economic growth. Quote, "This isn't necessarily a sign we're heading straight into a recession, but the risks are growing and cannot be ignored," end quote, says Chief Economist David Alexandre Brassard at CPA Canada.
So if you recall, when the Liberals were saying, look, the economy went up. It went up in March. Our strategy is working. Remember what we said? We said the reason why that was is because you had all of these businesses buying up product before the tariffs got too bad. And so what did that mean? That mean U.S. companies were buying Canadian product in bulk before they needed it so that they were actually not going to get hit too bad by the tariffs. What did that do? That caused a lot of revenue to go into Canada in March, increasing our GDP. Then what happened in April? Well, you didn't have those same companies buying all that stuff, so guess what? GDP went down. And it's going to continue to go down unless something is sorted out here. You're going to see it go down in June as well. And probably May. But this is what we said. So, Mr. Carney, where are you, Mr. Genius? It's unreal how much he has completely screwed the pooch.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is GDP also not offset by more people coming into the country?
So the more people that actually come in and work and produce,
or students or
that
permanent residents or whatever,
that has a positive impact on GDP. GDP per capita goes down the more people you have.
Right.
But more people generally uplifts GDP. So even with all of the new people that came in and the GDP still went down,
that's bad.
That's saying something. And this is what Deloitte is talking about when they're talking about a mild recession that's coming.
Well, and they make their money being right. I mean, they don't say this stuff to be wrong.
And we have to talk about the massive elephant that's in the room, which is the incoming mortgage crisis.
We're seeing it in our neighborhood.
I think a lot of people are seeing it.
Yeah.
And we've spoken to some real estate agents as well. They are seeing it. And people are going to have some very, very hard decisions where they bought and overpaid 5 years ago during the whole COVID real estate rush. And all of those mortgages are now come due. And in some cases, they're paying 10 times the amount of interest that they paid back then because the rates were so low and non-existent. So they are trying to sell their house for max value as to what they bought it at, but people are not paying it. So now you're in this situation that was similar to the 2008 crash down in the States, where you have a mortgage of $1.5 million. Someone's only going to pay $1.3 million for your house. And if you sell that house, you still owe the bank $200,000. What are you going to do? And this is the question that a lot of Canadians are grappling with.
Well, and the bank doesn't want to own houses because they have to put them up on the market and sometimes take a loss. Sometimes they'll come after you for the difference, but it's not in the bank's interest to own houses. They want to provide mortgages. That's how they make their money.
So, I've talked to some people and they've said, yeah, my mortgage has doubled. And some people have said my mortgage has gone up by a factor of 4. And that's because they bought so much at 0.4%. And now they have to pay 5-6%. That's a massive increase in interest. What are you going to do? You're going to be paying like $6,000, $7,000, $8,000, $9,000 a month for a mortgage? I don't think so. And this is the issue. And this is what we said to some people in the Conservative Party, and I think we've said it before on the channel. It may be a blessing in disguise that the Conservatives are not in government, because no matter what they did within the first 2 months, they would not have been able to stop this from happening.
No, this is coming down the tracks like a freight train. Like, you cannot stop this. You can't get in its way.
Now, Pierre and the Conservatives have been warning about this for years, but now it's finally, the chickens have come home to roost. So they would not have been able to stop this, and they would have worn it. The Liberals would have made them wear it, and the NDP would have made them wear it.
Yeah. It's
so
your
now,
fault, even though the Conservatives haven't been in government for 10 years.
So now you have Mark Carney, the business guy, coming in saying, I'm going to fix Canada, and this is coming whether he wants it to. Like, there's literally nothing he can do to stop this. Even if tomorrow he snapped his fingers and there was 500 million new houses, let's just say 5 million new houses built and ready to move in tomorrow, that would actually make things worse for these people, because that means prices would go down even more.
Yeah, you cannot build the way the Liberals are promising to build, but also maintain the value of people's current homes. It's impossible. You can't.
I'm just going to take a quick peek because I want to know if this has changed at all.
What are you looking at?
Just our neighborhood.
So last time we looked, there were 33 homes available in our neighborhood. And how many homes would you say are in this subdivision? Maybe about 200 to 300?
200, yeah.
200 or 300?
So it's oh my goodness. It's over 40 now. Yeah, it's 44.
Wow. And just for reference, we're in Hamilton, for those of you that might be new to the chat. And what had happened was during COVID, which was exactly 5 years ago, a lot of people from Toronto were selling in Toronto and moving out here. And you got people buying larger homes for lower price or lower interest rates, but higher prices. And now people can't afford their homes.
So when 25% of your neighborhood is up for sale, that's concerning.
Yeah.
That's concerning, folks. Anyhow, so Carney and the Liberals, they're going to be wearing this, and it's not going to look good on him, because he was going to come in as the savior. He literally said, Canada's in crisis, that's why I'm coming back. Okay. Well,
you have a better plan than what you've been doing.
All you seem to know how to do is, well, what does he know how to do? He doesn't know how to dance. He doesn't know how to move his elbows around.
Doesn't know how to budget because we don't have one.
Doesn't know how to budget. And this is probably one of the reasons why there is no budget, because he has no idea where he's getting the revenue from.
No. Like I said, I don't know if they're going to have to cut programs, or if they're going to cut jobs, or if they're going to raise taxes or increase inflation because they borrow. Like, whatever it is, it's not going to be good.
And he doesn't want to give the opposition parties any ammunition in terms of, how much is the deficit. Even the Parliamentary Budget Office is like, I don't know how you're going to pay for this. Like, that's what his Parliamentary Budget Officer is saying.
Who's a Liberal?
He's
appointed, right?
He's appointed by the Liberals. He's saying, dude, where are you going to get the money to pay for all this crap? And crickets. So I just have one question.
What is it that you do?
Because it obviously has nothing to do with money.
Do you know, I wonder if Trudeau's the guy that screwed up this country, and Carney's going to be the guy who's going to have to take the fall. So maybe it's good that it's not Pierre in there right now. That's
what I mean. And even the Conservatives are saying, what? It's possible that in 10 years we look back at this election and say, woo, we dodged a bullet there. Or we dodged an atomic bomb there.
Yeah.
So it's possible. But anyway, I'm hindsight's always 20/20, right? And it's always disappointing when your party doesn't achieve the result that you want in an election. But we're always on the side of hope, and we're always trying to find the silver lining, and we're always trying to push ahead. So anyway, we are up to 4,500 viewers, excellent, and 2469 likes. NP Nation, let's get those likes up. We went up by around 800 likes, and we gained, what was it? Something like 1,400 viewers. So that's what happens.
If we hit 4,000 likes on the live stream, I'll drop some memberships in chat.
There you go. There you go. So anyway, let's get back to some administrative items here. And no doubt YouTube will have skipped some because YouTube has been being YouTube. All right. We have Stephen Epps for 9 months. Remember, hit that like if you haven't already signed the petition. Thank you, you two, for everything you do. Keep up the good work. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
Lima Sierra for $14. Hello from Edson, Albertas. And thank you for the great education concerning our government. Keep their feet to the fire, I'm assuming.
Oh, we will. Don't worry.
Thank you very, very much. And all you wonderful folks out in Western Canada. Jim Ross for $10. Interested to see how many of the communities in Battle River Crowfoot that Pierre will attend to speak to constituents. I live in the riding, usually vote Conservative, but hate being taken for granted. I can understand what you're saying. I can understand what you're saying because you went out, you supported during the election, you voted for your candidate, and then your candidate stepped down, and then the leader of the party, doesn't matter who it is coming in, and then you feel like, well, they're doing it because they're expecting you to vote for them, and they're taking your vote for granted. I can understand how you might feel that way. That I understand. And you need to vote however you feel is the right way to vote. So
I would say, though, that one of the best ways to be able to interact with your candidate and also the leader, in this case, it'll be both the same person, but is to join your EDA. Like, I can't even tell you how many times during the general election, we would just get a call or a random text that would be like, hey, Pierre's going to be at the airport tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Do you guys want to be there? And we're like, yeah, absolutely. So usually the people in your EDA will let you know what's going on, and if there's an event that they need help at, or the one time we got a phone call like, hey, Pierre's doing an event in Hamilton again, and we need people to stand behind him. Do you guys want to come stand behind him? We're like, yeah, sure.
Here's something else I'll say, and I wouldn't say this if I didn't believe this, based on our interactions with Pierre. I am very, very confident in saying this. Jim, let's say Pierre came to your door and you kind of posed this in a polite way. You kind of posed this statement to him. He would tell you how much he appreciates the fact that you're even talking to him, and he appreciates the opportunity, and not because he's a politician, and not because he's saying, I really appreciate. He genuinely would. Like, he genuinely would. And this experience, I think, has had an extreme humbling effect on him. And I think he is sincerely grateful for anyone who does give them their support in this by-election, because he does understand what a stand-up guy Damien Keurig is, and he understands
how much the community loves him.
And he will want to fill those shoes as much as he can, and exceed that if he can. So we're not just saying this because we like Pierre. We're not just saying this because we lean conservative,
but
just because we've gotten to know Pierre a little bit. He's not like our best friend and everything. We haven't gotten to know that much.
But I mean, we go to events and we get to talk to the politicians, and you kind of get to know their personalities a little bit, right?
Well, and we got to chat with him a little before the interview that we did with him, and a little afterwards. He genuinely does care about Canada. and he genuinely does care about the people. If he didn't, during his campaign stops prior to the federal election, he would not sit there for 3 or 4 hours waiting for every single person that wanted to shake his hand and talk to him to come and shake his hand and talk to him. So, but at the same token, I totally get what you're saying. That's just a different side of it. So, and Kickin' Blue for $20. Elbows up, more like elbow down. The nerve of Carney to accuse Pierre of doing this during the election. The hypocrisy. I don't mind this digital tax being gone, but I hate that this turnaround makes us look weak. 100%. Absolutely. And this is the issue. It was a bad policy to begin with, but then they used it as a hill to die on. And this
But they didn't even do that properly.
Well, that's the thing. It's not like they were at the poker table and they're like, all right, I bet the DST policy. No. What happened was you're at the poker table.
You got kicked out of the
room.
Table, yeah.
And then you're like, guys, let me back in. Okay, I'll give you the DST. Fine, you can come back in and sit down with the adults again.
Sit down and be quiet.
Like,
come on! It was shameful. It really was.
So, jelly beans for $2. We'd have less scandals with freaking rules, and that's saying something. All right, Snow 181 for $2. You haven't learned the rules of acquisition. No, I haven't learned all of the rules of acquisition, and you haven't either. Nobody has.
Are you nerding out?
No. If I was nerding out, I would be able to cite Rule 1 through whatever there is. And like part of the rules of acquisitions, you get to make crap up whenever you need to. Tommy Pritchard for $5. Can we admit yet that Canada would be much better off as 51st state? And hypothetically, how would that work? No, I do not want to be the 51st state of the United States. I like being part of my own country. I like my own country. There are many reasons that the U.S. is great. There are many reasons that the U.S. is not great. And
there's many reasons why Canada's great and why Canada's not great. I think if
Right.
Canadians wanted to be American, they could just move down to the States.
Now, there's a bunch of people that may say, 51st state is great for me. That's great. That's your opinion. And you're entitled to it. Don't want to argue about that. We just don't share that opinion. I love Canada. I'm a very proud Canadian, and I have no intention on surrendering my country. So that's just not in me to do. Furry Spatula, member for 2 months. Thank you very much. I come for the politics. I stay for the Star Trek references. Yeah.
You guys are going to love this one.
There you go. And Scutulu for $10. What nobody is talking about is elbows up is just the first step. Step 1, elbows up in front. Step 2, kneel. Step 3, fall forward. Now you're in the right position. Wow. Yeah.
What the hell are they thinking over there?
Now we have my pink bathtub, Diane. Thank you very much for $10. I would like to gift my measly middle-class tax cut to you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Happy Canada Day and keep up the good work.
Yes, happy Canada Day, everybody. It was 158 tomorrow.
Something like that.
Yeah. We had our Canada Day celebrations this weekend, both with Ned's team and Dan's team. So we had a lot of fun at both events. And I don't know if we're doing anything tomorrow. We might try to find Vincent some fireworks because he's always been, I think, too little to stay up to watch them. And last night was one of the first times that he's really seen them. And he keeps asking all day. He's just been asking us for fireworks. We're like, buddy, it's the middle of the afternoon and it's raining.
Not going to happen. And I love this name. Point of Order. Member for 16 months. Happy Canada Day, everybody. Absolutely. John Soper for $2. Carney sat on a wall. Carney had a big fall.
Yeah, you can say that again.
All the Liberal ministers and all the Liberal MPs couldn't put Mark Carney together for me. Endergate member for 20 months. Thank you so much. Not because of our government, but because of all you all. Happy Canada Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy Canada Day.
And if there's any Americans that are actually on here, happy upcoming 4th of July. We had a surprise algorithm. I don't know if you want to call it a glitch or not or whatever like that, but on one of our Trump videos, YouTube decided to show it to over 100,000 Americans. So that was an amazing surprise. So to all the Americans that may be watching, hello to our neighbors and happy upcoming 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. CarX for $5. A crisis comes with a raise for the one who caused it. Or for the one who takes advantage of it. Because that's Carney. Scutula for $5. Meanwhile, in Canada, took my mom grocery shopping this past Saturday. Oasis orange juice, 1.5 liters, $12.99.
Ouch.
In Quebec.
Ouch. It's because it's imported, right?
Unmitigated horse pucky.
Yeah, I'll say that again.
Okay.
Unmitigated horse pucky.
Rob K, member for 18 months. Thank you so much for hanging in. Happy Dominion Day, NP Nation. Fly your red ensign with pride. 100%.
I like the maple leaf flag. It's cute. I like it.
Métis Viking, member for 7 months. Carney faced the test when Trump entered the room. His elbows touched the table. His courage met his doom. Principles abandon. His power to assume. Nice.
And thank you to Michael Harry for gifting 10 Northern Perspective memberships.
Thank you very, very much. And Leaf Busby for $7. Mark Carney's largest issue is integrity. He said he would not rescind DST in French the other day, walking to his vehicle. The next day, he removes it, right?
Yeah, because he found out that there are consequences to his decisions.
Like what? We can't understand this.
I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. It was very straightforward.
What a guy. And this is the thing. I said this on the video earlier. Champagne is like this guy that he kicks out there and says, hey, go and say this. And then the next day contradicts him.
You know, he's only Champagne if he's from the Champagne region of France. Otherwise, he's just a sparkling minister.
Champagne. Yeah. Oh, he's not so sparkling.
That's the joke.
Justin Brown for $7. The thing that about elbows up, you expose your liver. And this week, Trump found that spot over and over again. As usual, Carney crumbled. Yeah, 100%. And Colleen Hall, Mouse. Happy Canada Day. Please smash that like button. Yes, please do. We're at 3162. Tom Servo for $2. Yet Carney polls are up. Canadians are hopeless. I'm not worried about the... Oops. I'm not worried about the polls now. In January, I'll be looking at the polls more closely. Because Pierre will be back in the House. And you know what? Maybe this is a good time to chat to people. You're going to be seeing a different Pierre Poilievre in the House. That's our prediction. We're starting to see it in his
Tweets,
social media
yeah.
and his tweets. You are going to be seeing Prime Minister in waiting, Pierre Poilievre, not ruthless attack dog leader of the opposition, Pierre Poilievre.
We think he's going to start doing what Harper did, which was remain prime ministerial, but send his ministers or his shadow ministers after the government.
Yes, he will send in the hounds.
Yeah.
So you're still going to have Larry Brock doing his thing. You're still going to have Garnet Jennis. You're still going to have Melissa Lantsman, Stephanie Kuzy,
Michael Cooper, Michael Barrett.
Yeah, all of those guys. Send in the hounds, and they can do all of that. Meanwhile, Pierre will be prime ministerial. He will be political. He will be voter friendly, and he will. It doesn't mean he's not going to attack Carney. He's just going to do it in a far more sophisticated way. That's our prediction because we're already starting to see it. And this is part of the humbling side, but this is also part of the Jenny Byrne has not been rehired as his official
that we know of anyways.
Campaign of consultant that we know of.
Right.
But she's been noticeably absent from all the staff meetings. So that's going to be the quiet way of sending Jenny Byrne on her way. So just get ready for that because it may be kind of jarring to people and be like, "What? That doesn't sound like Pierre."
What's he doing? Has he lost his edge?
Yeah, it's intentional.
Yeah.
It's intentional. Why? It's because he knows that the liberals and the mainstream media are going to be clipping the hell out of him. And posting that for all of these swing voters to see. So they won't be able to say, this is the angry Pierre Poilievre again.
Look how aggressive he is. Do you really want this guy running the country, et cetera, et cetera?
Right. So so he's thinking,
thinking long term.
4D chess.
Yeah.
He's thinking much further ahead than his opponent is. So Leap Busby for $2.79. Our local news in BC has headlined Canada caved. That's BC.
Wow. BC's pretty liberal. They're pretty left-leaning. They're liberal / NDP.
Yeah. Nancy for $14. Thank you very much. I'm convinced that the Liberals handpicked MPs with the most annoying voices as a strategy to get us to not know about what the hell they're talking about.
The Liberals did handpick a lot of their MPs, from what I understand, or a lot of their candidates that then went on to become MPs, where the Conservatives were telling us, I think they had over 200 that were selected by a nomination campaign. Yeah. And
then everyone, in order to, so just so everybody knows, so up until the writ drops, parties have this internal, or at least the Conservatives do, I imagine the other parties do as well, because they're all similar. They have this internal rule that they cannot appoint candidates until after the writ drops.
I think that's only the Conservatives.
Could be.
From what I think Ken was telling us.
Could be. The Conservatives have this rule.
Yeah.
So that means that up until then, candidates must be selected by nomination and a riding vote. But after the writ drops, the party can just say, no, you. Why? Because after the writ drops, the campaign starts and they have to get candidates ASAP. So...
Whereas the Liberals, I believe, appointed more of theirs, just saying, okay, we want that guy and that one too.
Well, they didn't even know an election was quote unquote coming. So, but they had to have known that it was coming in 2025.
It would have been in October had it not been in April, right?
Yeah. So, Megaman Zero for $10. Controlled media, check. Corporatism, check. Ideology over facts, check. Hate its more successful neighbor, check. Hating Jews, check. Socialism, check. Why the left no calling fascism, Nazism on the Liberal Party?
And that's a good question.
Liberal swing voters?
Yeah. Well, and I think that many people who lean towards the left forget that the Nazi Party was initially elected in Germany. They didn't take power by force.
They tried to, and that didn't work.
Yeah.
So they campaigned and they got in. And how did they get in? By taking advantage of a crisis.
There you go. And thank you to Casper H for gifting 10 Northern Perspective memberships. Thank you so much.
Casper. Wefers SS for $14. You should create a meme of a montage of Carney saying and use it for stumper questions or something egregious.
Oh, we wouldn't subject you guys to that.
It sounds like he's like ready to Ralph. Sean Lefty Legends for $7. What do you have when you have three liberals in the same room telling the truth? A unicorn because it doesn't exist. Facts. Nice. Megaman Zero for $2. Canada doesn't look weak. Canada is weak. Well, and this is what happens after 10 years of liberal government. Rob Dick for $10. Thank you very much. We could prohibit U.S. ore ships from Canadian locks on the St. Lawrence Seaway, including Soo Locks and Welland Canal, until the U.S. lifts the tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum. That would be bold. That would be bold. The question is there anything that they could prevent us from doing? I don't know.
Yeah. I think this is the type of situation that a skilled politician would de-escalate, or at least try to de-escalate. But Carney's not a skilled politician. He does not have the background as a politician, which is why I think Pierre would have been the logical choice, because he's been doing politics for 20 years. So he knows the ins and outs. And I mean, he's practiced diplomacy before. Carney's used to just getting in a boardroom and telling everybody what he wants and what needs to be done.
Well, and Carney has hired other executives as well to actually, help him on his team. But it's not going to help. You can't just come in and be like, okay, everybody, let's go. Get everything done. Hello, this is government. This is not a Fortune 500 company. And somebody can turn around and be like, no. And you can't just say, well, you're fired. Oh, yeah? Good luck with that.
Talk to PSAC.
Or You can't fire me. I'm elected by the Canadian people.
Right.
So, yeah, have fun with that. Alice Avonlea dropping 5 memberships. Thank you very, very much for that, Alice. Cass for $2. If you can't trust a Carney, who can you trust? Yeah.
Nope.
Julie Beans for $5. Carney has been standing up to Trump like a limp wet noodle. Yep.
Seriously.
Right? Boiled spaghetti. That's the strength of Carney's back. Kate Pacey coming back as a member for a month. Thank you very much. Scotty for $5. Just over half of Canada believes we are socialists. How do you fight that if you're Trump? The USA must be able to counter socialist messaging. Yeah, it's interesting.
It seems we're headed down that path, though, because people want the government to run everything. Oh, I need somebody to take care of my kids so I can go to work. Oh, the government will pay for it. I need dental care. Well, the government will pay for it. I can't afford my medications. Well, the government will pay for it.
I can't afford to work, so the government will pay for that too.
Yeah. Like, this is just weird. Like, we used to be a capitalist society with some socialist elements, primarily healthcare, but also like things like roads and I can't even think of another example, but it's not the way it is today.
Well, and I've seen more and more posts on Facebook about, hey, if you like this, guess what? You're a socialist. No. Just because I like the fire department doesn't mean I'm a freaking socialist.
I think for a proper society, you need some socialist elements.
Yes.
For example, fire, police, healthcare. The States, I know they don't do healthcare, but I appreciate it living in Canada, let me tell you. And most of the world, like the Western world, does have socialized medicine. So that's an example. But
you also need non-socialist policies as well and frameworks like, I don't know, free market capitalist, policy.
But you need Canadians to be able to do their own thing, right? Like, Northern Perspective wouldn't exist if we did not have a need to raise additional funds to pay for our son's speech therapy. Like, would not exist. Never mind, what we've built it into, this amazing community of like-minded individuals. But sometimes having too much socialism, it makes your population dependent on the government, and that's never a good thing.
Well, we know what happens with too much socialism.
Yeah.
You have, Mao's China. You have the Soviet Republic.
Well, because then it becomes, if we had a small child who had to go to daycare, well, the government chooses which daycare my child goes to because, that's the one with an empty spot. Meanwhile, it's 3 towns over. Something like that, right? Or the government decides which dentist I get to go to because they decide who accepts this dental plan.
And it also bankrupts daycares that are not government subsidized because everyone is saying, well, I'd rather not pay that, so I'll just deal with it and wait for 3 years or 10 years to actually get into this other daycare.
But again, you want some social elements like roads, for example. Not every single road in the city is going to be a toll road, because I think that would be the only way to get around that, right? So it needs to be a balance. Everything in life is a balance.
Woody Doppelganger for $1.50. Thank you very much for the popcorn. Unreal Bean for $2.79. Tax me hard, your daddy card.
WTF.
That's amazing.
That was good.
That might be the super chat tonight.
I think so.
Tax me harder. All right, Paladin Phil, Speaker of Tales, member for 18 months. Every street I drive on now, I am seeing at least 2 or 3 houses for sale at every street. Yeah. And it's going to be worse.
It's going to be a crisis. It's going to be worse than the 2008 crisis, I think.
Up here.
Yeah.
It was fairly mild up here for us.
Yeah, we came through unscathed as Canadians, but I think it's going to be bad this time around, unfortunately.
Marsh for $2. Any news on the longest ballot petition?
Yes, so we're over 28,000 votes. And we still have 12 days left because we have until the 12th, I think, at noon. I will drop the link in chat again. I'll pin it right to the top. It's also in the description of this if you are watching afterwards. It's the top link in the description. Make sure you sign it. And also, after you sign it, you'll get an email from the House of Commons. Make sure you open that email and click the link inside to make sure that your petition counts towards it.
Looks like we've gotten another 100 signatures tonight.
Awesome.
So there you go.
Amazing. You guys are awesome.
And we have Jelly Beans member for 16 months. So the housing crisis isn't that we don't have enough. It's that people have been priced out of the market because of historic low interest rates. Interest rates are at historic lows, Glenn. Well, this is the irony, right? You have the housing explosion that happened in 2020. Then you had the Liberals open the floodgates on immigration and temporary foreign workers. Everyone
and students. Don't forget the students who are also temporary foreign workers.
So you had millions of people coming into the country, and now they all needed a house, which jacked it up even more. And now interest rates have gone through the roof because of all of the borrowing in COVID, and people are now having to renew, where they bought at 0.5%, and now they're having to renew at 5 or 6%. And because they overpaid to get that house in the first place, they probably were like, okay, well, you know, we can afford this. We're on the edge, but we can afford this. But then 5 years down the road, that edge, you are now a football field past that edge.
Well, and I feel kind of bad because they don't teach you this stuff in school. They don't teach you that when governments overspend, you get taxed or inflation goes up and you as a citizen end up paying. So I feel like a lot of people didn't know this stuff. I didn't know this stuff until we started doing Northern Perspective.
Well, and never mind the mortgage rates, right? The mortgage rates are just a part of it. How's everybody's property taxes doing? Because I know ours have gone up by at least probably 20% since 2020. And Hamilton just announced that they're supposed to go up another 8% next year.
8.7, they're saying.
Next year. Some people we were talking to, they've gone up by 50%. So it's not just the mortgage, right?
Well, and look at groceries. The average Canadian is the average Canadian family of 4, so 2 adults, 2 children, is supposed to spend almost $17,000 on groceries this year.
So
that's huge.
So the next thing that the Conservatives should start talking about in the House is property taxes around the country.
Yeah, but it's a municipal issue.
So but it's an effect of having not enough houses, because when you don't have enough houses, the inherent value of the house goes up in terms of the.
Oh, I see what you mean. The impact value goes up.
So therefore, your property taxes end up going up. Never mind the fact that the municipal governments need to raise money anyway because everything's more expensive. So, and we have Nancy for $14. Ryan and Tanya, would protesting help, or will we get her bank account seized?
I don't know. That's the problem.
This is the concerning thing. In
you know, I joke, but I mean, we really don't know.
Pretend you're protesting against Israel. Maybe you'll be fine then.
Well, that's it. There seems to be like acceptable protests and protests that you're not allowed to do because they're right-leaning.
So
I don't know.
Steve Swatsky, welcome to NP supporter. Thank you very much. And Emily Cruteau for $5. It won't be a mild recession. It is already a depression, and it will get worse.
Yeah.
Agreed. And I want to make sure that I have the. Delphine Stevenson for $2.79. Thank you very much from Fort McMurray, Alberta. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anubis Hades for $2. Would you hire Odo to replace Sean Fraser, and why?
Like the whole committee?
No, Odo.
Oh.
Odo is a shapeshifter from Star Trek Deep
Space
Nine.
That's why I don't recognize it.
Yeah. I would hire him not to change form, but just to see that grumpy old guy stand up in the House of Commons and be like, yeah, I'm the Justice Minister. What of it? Sit down. Like, it would be fun to hear him talk.
Not sure if you got this one, Steve Sawatsky. Thank you for joining NP supporter.
2 for 1.
Awesome.
Wilson Weber for $5. There are 172 rules of acquisition. Keep up the good work. I can think of 173. Cat C for $7. Thank you very much. What is Trump going to do when Carney implements the carbon tax credits? Probably tell him you're away from the adults table again.
Yeah. Go sit in the corner and think about what you've done.
Like, imagine. Like, this is... And it's a really good point to raise. We raised it way back when he was talking about it. This is Carney's carbon border adjustment, everybody. Or as we coined it, the carbon tax tariff. Imagine what happens when he brings that in.
I'm hoping that this government will be changed out before that happens.
I think what will happen, I think the EV mandate is going to be the new carbon tax, meaning it's going to tick off Canadians across the board. And the carbon tax tariff is going to really tick off our allies that trade with us. So I think Carney just thinks, oh yeah, I'm just going to do all this stuff. It's going to be fine. These decisions have impacts on your neighbors, Mr. Carney.
Well, and you cannot have just electric vehicles in a country like Canada. It's too cold. Now, I'll say that I drive a hybrid, and I do like it because most of my driving is around the city, running errands, picking my son up from school, that sort of thing. So I don't go far. But to have a full electric car, I would never.
No, there's at least 20% of Canada's population that lives in rural areas. And now this is just the people who live in rural areas, never mind people who work in rural areas. But 20% of the population, so that is, what, 8 million people? Something like that? Yeah, 8 million people. So 8 million people live in rural areas that you're not going to do well having a just electric vehicle. It's just not going to happen. Welcome to Canada. Never mind all the people that need heavy-duty trucks and machinery to get around. But Mark Gerritsen will say, well, Bobcats are going to be electric only soon.
I doubt it.
Sure they will. And we have Libby T for $5. I like Brian Lilly's nickname for champagne, Frankie Bubbles. Yeah.
Is that where that came from?
I think so.
Because I've heard it before. I just wasn't sure where it originated. That's interesting.
Michael for $20. I don't think it matters if the Conservatives dodge a bullet right now. Once they form government in the future, they will have to face this mortgage problem because the Liberals don't have a clue of how to fix it.
Yeah,
I
fair
agree.
point.
I agree, but at least it will have come.
Yeah, and they won't be blamed, hopefully.
So the Conservatives can put forward a plan in their platform as to how they're going to deal with it, and at least they'll have a solution at the ready, or at least a proposed solution at the ready. It's a complex problem in order to be able to do something with it, but at least they won't wear the beginning of it. That's always the trick. So at least once the train has started going by, sure, no problem, because everyone has already painted the party that was in power with the issue. So, like, example, the Phoenix pay scandal under the Harper government, where they were spending just tons and tons and tons of money on this stupid thing.
Yeah.
And it was a terrible system. So the Harper government wore that scandal. Now, I think 500 million more or something like that, stupid amounts of money, was continued to be spent under the Liberals on the Phoenix pay system. But that wasn't a Liberal scandal, because the train had already passed and the party had already been blamed who was responsible for it. So it's going to be a similar thing. And rightly so, by the way. I wouldn't have blamed the Liberals for that type of mismanagement when it as it relates to this payroll system. That was a Stephen Harper screw up. Gordon Meir dropping 10 memberships. Thank you very much. And Maya for $28. Do you think that Canada should limit immigration to European countries, since we've had problems recently with people from India? FYI, many Ukrainians have ran up Canadian credit cards and ran back to the Ukraine. You know, it's funny that you mentioned that. Actually, Tanya doesn't even know this. So I was speaking to our neighbor, and our neighbor, super nice guy, immigrated under the old system where you actually had to earn your way in through the point system, and there was a 3-year waiting period and all this stuff. So he's from Pakistan, and He came to Canada, became a citizen, started a business. Awesome, because he's employing people in Canada. That's your model immigrant that has come to Canada, settled down, they're paying taxes, they're employing Canadians. Awesome, that's what you want to see. And he was saying that one guy that he knows that also has a business ended up hiring 3 guys from Ukraine. And these guys were getting paid, I think he said $1,300 a month or something like that. And once their visas work out, they're going back to Ukraine. So they have no intention of staying here, but they're
taking money out of the Canadian economy
Yep.
and bringing it back home.
Yep, and they will use our medical system and use whatever they can, and go back to Ukraine. And that ticks all of us off. It ticks all of us off because there's people that want to come here, that want to work here, that want to live here and be Canadian. And then you have these people that are just like, yeah, I'll just take what I can and go.
I'll say that I think the U.S. does it right when it comes to immigration because they don't allow, I think it's more than 7% of their immigrant numbers for the year to come from any one particular country, including Canada. So if you have, say, 100,000 people, just for numbers' sake, they won't allow more than 7,000 to come from Canada. Now, I think that's smart because
you control the culture input.
Yeah, exactly. So you don't have people like coming over into your country and just importing their old culture. Like they are adopting the new culture, which would be, in this case, the American culture. Canada's a little different, and I don't necessarily agree with the way things have been done up until this point. We're more of a cultural mosaic, they call it, instead of a melting pot like in the United States. In the United States, immigrants come into the United States, they're expected to adopt the American culture. In Canada, we say, oh, you can come to Canada and you can bring your culture and you can still, practice your old religion, speak your own language, do this and do that. And I think my heritage is a good example of this, where I have both sets of grandparents are Italian. So they all came to Canada back in the 60s. Earlier than that, actually, the 50s. And one set of grandparents came to Canada and were like, okay, we're in Canada now, we're going to learn English and we're going to be Canadian. And the other set kept their old language and didn't actually start learning English until my uncles and my dad went to school to learn English and then came and brought the language home. So I think in Canada, because it's always been like this melting pot, we don't really insist this mosaic. It's not a melting pot like the States. We don't insist on assimilation. And that's why, like, you can go to some areas in Toronto and you don't see English signage anywhere. It's just all in Mandarin or whatever it is.
Which ticks me off. Like, and people can say what they want. But again, if I were to go to even a place like Germany, guess what I'm doing even before I'm going there? I'm learning frickin' German.
Well, and I think it's important for a people, like a citizenry, to have a common language, to have common interests, maybe a common religion or common practices, like, holiday observations, that sort of thing, because it helps unify us as a country and it kind of keeps us all working towards the same thing and all towards the same goal. If you guys check out our interview that we did a while ago with Lieutenant Colonel David Redman, he's talking about unity as one of the most important things that Canada needs. And this is kind of why, because our military falls apart without it. What are Canadians fighting for if we all don't have something in common, if we're not all working towards the same goal of maintaining Canada?
Well, and this is why I think there should be requirements for assimilation. There should be requirements to learn the language.
There need to be language requirements. And you know what? I will say that because we're a bilingual country, I think there need to be better requirements for us to learn both languages. Like, I took French all through high school and I still don't speak it, like, hardly at all.
But that means that there needs to be better resources for people to learn it.
Yeah. I think if you want to be a bilingual country, you need to teach your citizens both languages.
Otherwise, don't bother with it.
Well, and I look at my cousins in Belgium, like my second, third cousins in Belgium, they all speak Italian, French, and Dutch because that's what they teach them in school.
So, But anyway, so to your point, yes, we should be limiting a percentage of people from different regions in the world. And that's just to make sure that we're not getting a massive influx of one region and their issues over another. And like you talk to naturalized immigrants that have been here, or immigrants that have come in and earned your citizenship through the old system, and they're proud Canadians. Like, a lot of them are really proud Canadians, and they hate the way the immigration system has moved on. So I give credit where credit is due to a lot of these immigrants that have come in from different areas of the country, from the Philippines, from Asia, from China, from India, from Europe, from South America, like everywhere. You're going to have bad apples everywhere. There's bad apples from people who were born here. But when it comes to a lot of these immigrants that came through the old system, they're hardworking people. And why? Because our immigration system screened those people in.
Well, and I think you need to focus on bringing in people from countries who have similar values to Canada. That's not necessarily, like European countries, but you need countries that, for example, respect women. You can't have a bunch of men coming over here and thinking
they can treat women like property.
Right. And women suffering as a result of it. So that's just one example.
Anyway.
It is question time, though.
Oh.
Oral questions.
Oral questions. The questions, by their very nature, should be pointed, should be tough, should be specific, and the answers should also be clear.
All right, it is MP question period time. So you guys ask us the questions and we will answer them. If you would like to ask a question, please tag at Barnaby from Northern Perspective and he'll copy and paste them for us. First question is from Percy 2077. It says, do you think Pierre will be ahead in the national polls by his leadership review, considering Carney will just continue to fail?
Hard to say.
Does it even matter, though? Because it's just Conservatives who are voting for the leadership review.
No. I think the question is, does it matter? No, but I think it's just a hypothetical question. Like, will Pierre be ahead of Mark Carney at that point? I think it's possible. We're going to be. I can tell you that the Conservatives are going to be paying close attention to the preferred prime minister poll, probably midway through October and into November, because they'll be able to see if Pierre's new communication style is having an effect on the electorate. So that's going to be one thing that they're going to be looking at. But I don't think it's going to matter for the leadership review.
Because it's just Conservatives that are going to be voting in the leadership review, and like from all the Conservatives we've been speaking to, everybody's behind Pierre 100%.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't had one person from within the party tell me like, no, I'm going to vote it down. I'm going to vote to go to a leadership race. Nobody has said that to us.
Yeah.
Next question is from Jordan Tyler 32. It says, do you know if there are books for sale at the event? Yes. So at our event on July the 20th, we will be selling books. We will have English and French copies available. We were just suggesting that if you already have a book that maybe you bought through Amazon or Indigo and you'd like us to sign it, just bring it and we'll sign it for you. And again, it's going to be rain or shine because both the carousel and where we're going to be signing books are fully covered. So we hope to see you there.
And but if you don't have a book, by all means, show up and buy one, and we'll sign it right there on the spot.
Next question is from Marie Rochon. It says, a few weeks ago, Leslyn Lewis said that the WHO pandemic treaty had been adopted. What are Ryan and Tanya's opinions on that? Thank you for keeping us informed. So I haven't had an opportunity to review the current treaty. I know it had undergone several rewritings. So I don't know if they took the concerning stuff out. I don't know how binding it is. Unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to review it.
We do know that there's been a lot of concern from NP Nation on that, so that is something that we and don't worry, I will commit to this. We will commit to taking a look at that over over the summer, and we will put a video out with our analysis of the treaty and our completely objective opinion on it.
And Jessica Van Luck says, do you think there's a chance that this may backfire on Pierre, especially if his popularity dips really low by the end of January and he may lose the leadership review?
It's always a risk.
Yeah, like nothing is ever for certain. But again, all of the party members that we have been speaking to, everybody's rooting for Pierre. So, I mean, that's not to say that there's not factions forming or that they could form before January or something like that. But just from what we've been hearing, we feel good about it.
And just so everybody knows, there was a caucus kind of leadership review, very early in Parliament, and they did affirm Pierre, that the caucus was behind Pierre. The full-on leadership review, that's different than that. So we know that the caucus is behind him, by and large. I don't know of anyone that was against it or not, but it will be interesting to see what happens. So, but I think Pierre understands that he has work to do, and the Conservatives have work to do. So they need to make up some ground, and I anticipate that that's going to happen. But who knows?
But he's a hard worker, and he's been working hard to make those changes so that he can move forward.
He's the hardest working guy in the Conservative Party.
Yeah, for sure. And we hear that from everybody. And the other thing is, when they do the leadership review, they'll have at the conference, they'll have the delegates brought in, and the delegates will vote whether or not to keep Pierre. If the delegates vote no, then it goes to a leadership race. If the delegates vote yes to keep him, then he stays as the leader and there's no further votes. So it's the delegates that will decide whether or not Pierre will stay on as leader.
Yep.
And
kudos to Pierre for putting, because he doesn't have to do that, right? He could just decide that there is no leadership review, but he's putting that up. So he's saying, you know what, full transparency, and let me know if you're behind me. So it's another checkbox on the integrity on Mark Carney. Justin Trudeau didn't do that. Just saying. Other parties that have not had any elected seats have not done that. Just saying.
DL asks, what if Elections Canada just left one blank space on the standard ballot so folks who want to vote for a frivolous candidate can, just like a special ballot? I suppose it's a possibility, but it would have to be written into the Elections Canada Act.
Yeah, and believe me, from what we've researched, Elections Canada is begging for any solution that will work for this from the government. They don't want 200 candidates. They don't want 90 candidates. They want a reasonable number of candidates, like less than 10. Less than 10.
Yeah.
Legitimate candidates. So they've been trying to put forward suggested solutions to address this as well.
It's the Liberal Party that's standing in the way. It's not Elections Canada that's responsible for this.
But that is a very interesting suggestion. Like, so you have the main registered parties, or if you want to vote for an independent, write in the independent's name. That's not bad.
I think they do that in the States. One of our U.S. members can perhaps let us know, but I think there's a spot that you can write in your own candidate.
Yep. So.
Rhonda McDowney asks, attended the AGM for my MP James Bazan in Manitoba riding. Found out our riding was able to dollars support Ned Curick. Also met Colin Reynolds. Is it common for ridings to share funds? Yes. It can be.
Yep.
Yeah. So if they're not raising enough money at the riding level, they can ask another riding to donate some money. James
Bazan is a solid guy. Like, I would swear he grew up in the military, but he didn't. He just has that 4-star general military look in him. But solid Shadow Minister of Defense.
And Stephanie asks, if the RCMP comes back with criminal charges to the Liberals, could there be a confidence vote, or could the Governor General step in and demand a budget?
Governor General can't demand a budget or anything like that, but confidence votes can be put on a lot of things. Anything to do with spending money is a confidence vote. So just to make sure everybody knows it. And there's going to be vote upon vote upon vote about spending money, and they will all be confidence votes. So if something huge happened and let's say half of the Liberal cabinet was arrested, even if one, like let's say hypothetically Mark Carney was arrested for some reason, they would continue to operate as government, and there would be a confidence vote at some point because they're going to have to spend more money or ask for more money. Most of these just pass because they're insignificant and the opposition parties aren't ready to bring the government down at that point. But at that point, they could all decide, oh, there's a huge ass scandal. That's going to work in our favor. All right. This vote where they're asking for $5 for this over here, and that's a confidence vote. Yep, we're going to bring the government down on that one.
But I think that if something were to happen to the sitting prime minister, like they got arrested or perhaps they passed away while in office, the deputy would take over, would they not?
Usually, but there is no deputy prime minister.
He hasn't appointed a deputy prime minister?
Not that I saw. Not that I heard.
That's bizarre.
Keeps control.
Yeah, I'll say.
So.
And I just want to pipe in about the U.S. elections. They do have a blank spot for the presidential election. I'm not sure about the state level elections, though. That depends on what the state laws are. Okay, awesome. Thank you. Sorry, just switching screens here. Next one is from Jessica Van Luck. It says, do you have any great names coming in for interviews this summer? We hope so.
Well, we can let you know of a couple because we have the footage in hand.
Did you check the footage? Make sure there was nothing wrong with it?
Yes.
Okay, it's not like corrupted.
So the first person that we have that's going to actually be dropping later this week is none other than one of everybody's favorites, the Shadow Minister of Justice and hopefully future Attorney General of Canada, Mr. Larry Brock.
I guess my appearance at committee is not going very well today.
So we had a wonderful chat with him, and he is very, very frustrated around one particular issue that he is trying to get the word out, and that's going to coincide with our video dropping at some point this week. So stay tuned for that. But yeah, Larry Brock has come back on Northern Perspective in the new studio, and it's always a pleasure to chat with him. So that's one of the new ones. We also had our relative neighbor, Mario for the North. He was on Northern Perspective. We had a really nice chat with him. So there were some questions, are we going to be having any other content creators? There's the answer. So we had a good chat with Mario. So that's going to be, I don't know when we're going to drop that, but I have lots of editing to do. But we still have that. So that's,
we are in touch with a couple other MPs that we would like to have on the show. But
everyone, keep your fingers and toes crossed for us, because we've been working really, really, really hard on one of them.
But we don't typically announce them unless we do have the footage in hand, just because in politics anything can happen.
Yeah, it's like Proline. Anything can happen. Anyone can win or lose. So, but we're if we get this one, it's going to be so nice. So everyone, keep your fingers crossed and toes crossed.
Stinger 007 asks, can we clarify what pin is Mark wearing?
So the pin Mark is wearing is the Order of Canada pin, and it's like a little daisy. Looks like a little daisy, and the reason he wears that is because he wants everybody to know I have the Order of Canada. If I were Mark Carney, or if it was Pierre or one of the other Conservatives, I would expect them to be wearing a Canadian flag. But Mark Carney doesn't want to project that he is a patriot. He wants to project prestige and look at me and look at my credentials. That's our theory as to why he wears the Order of Canada pin.
Speaking of Order of Canada, the Governor General just waltzed in. She will be up on the table shortly, no doubt. This question is from Gwen H. It says, is it possible that Google may sue the government for the $100 million they already paid? I don't know. Again, that article that I was referencing was just an opinion piece, so it's more speculation than fact.
It's extremely unlikely, and here's my thought around it. Let's say you have somebody that does work on your house, and part of that work is, you know, you inspect the work and you say, okay, yeah, here you go, and then later you decide that you're not happy with it. Nothing's wrong with it. You just decide you're not happy with it, and then you sue them and you take them to the small claims court. Odds are the judge is going to laugh at you and send you on your way, because they're going to say, but you agreed to the terms and you paid them. That means that you accepted those terms. So the issue is going to be, like, if Google tried to sue the government for that, the government or the court is going to say, listen, you guys didn't like it initially, right? Right. You talked to the government and you modified the terms, and then you agreed to them, and that's when you paid the money, right? Right. Case dismissed, because you already agreed to that. So they can't turn around and sue the government just because now they have buyer's remorse. It wouldn't be worth the paper that the lawsuit was printed on.
Charlene Myers asks, the DST has to be rescinded by legislation. Are we sure that's going to happen? And if so, how do we know? Were all MPs consulted before Carney made that promise?
No, and that's going to be the funny thing. So, again, they can set the rate to 0.
Yeah, I was going to say they'd probably do that through an order in council to set it to 0.
Most likely. Yeah. Most likely. So,
it's still a law in the books, but it's essentially gone because it's 0.
Yeah, so they would have set that to 0, and if they're truly going to rescind it, then we would expect a bill to be coming through the House in the fall.
Victoria Labadia says, what are your thoughts on Poilievre's silence on Carney's DST enforcement? Should he not have spoken out about it and called for it to be rescinded? I thought I had seen something from Pierre on it. Maybe I'm mistaken.
He did put out a statement. I don't know if he's... Well, what he did say is he said that you know, he should have countered.
He should have used it against
softwood lumber.
The softwood lumber tariffs.
He should have said, "Listen, I'll take out the DST. You take out the softwood lumber, and then let's sit down and we'll continue." That's what Pierre did say. So he actually did put out somewhat of a statement on it.
Yeah. So here is from, it says 10 hours ago. Sorry, it's on my computer, so you guys won't be able to see it on the screen.
Let me see if I can put it up.
Do you want me to send you the link, or? I think I can.
Yeah, let's drop it in the
okay.
in the thing.
The thing. In the thing. Okay, there you go.
Because everyone should see what we're looking at. Okay, so that's good.
All right, stand by.
Fine. So where is it? In here?
Yeah.
Down.
No, meta.
Here.
Yeah.
All right. Okie dokies. Let's go take a look. People need to be able to hear us.
Are we good now?
We're good now.
Okay, perfect. So it says, as recently as 2 days ago, the finance minister insisted the digital services tax would proceed. Then the prime minister put his elbows down and canceled the tax in the 11th hour. The tax is gone for good. In exchange, the prime minister should insist that the U.S. immediately rescind softwood lumber tariffs. We need to make gains for our workers in these talks. Canadians need certainty that Liberals will put Canada first and defend Canadian sovereignty in these negotiations. To stand up for Canada from a position of strength, the government must take emergency action to bolster Canada's economy, fully repeal the No Pipelines Law, the industrial carbon tax, the tanker ban, the emissions cap, the EV mandate, and axe the capital gains tax on reinvestments in Canada. As always, Conservatives are ready to help get a good deal for Canada. So I think this really shows the difference in tone with Pierre's present messages from today and the ones previously before the election. It's much less aggressive.
Well, and I just want to point at the first comment on here, obviously from a Liberal, saying, "Look at you cheering for the bad man Trump," which is funny because he's not cheering for Trump. Like, when you criticize Carney, that doesn't mean you are cheering for Trump. He's actually telling him, go at Trump. That's what he's saying. But the problem is people who are just entrenched on the left will have nothing ever good to say about something that Pierre is doing. Just as there's some people that are completely entrenched on the right, if Carney does happen to do something good, they will never admit it. And that you need to watch out for. You have to have some objectivity in there. Because if Carney does something good, have to call it out. We'll just be waiting a while for that to happen.
Material Fox Productions asks, what do you think of the idea of Canada leaving the British monarchy and transitioning to a constitutional republic? What makes a constitutional monarchy more appealing?
So, whether we leave the monarchy or not, there needs to be a reason to do it. If people are looking at this mainly in terms of we need to move away from the Westminster system, then we don't need to leave the monarchy to do that. We just need to move away from the Westminster system. So it depends on the discussion that people want to have. Some people want to move away from the monarchy because they don't like the idea that whoever is the monarch over there is technically the king or queen of Canada, even though it doesn't really mean anything. But I get it. I understand it. But there's a lot of people that really do like having that connection. So, but if you want to talk about changing our political system so it's less Westminster and, we have a different system, then we can have that discussion. When it comes to our system, there's a lot of changes I would make to make it better.
I think one of the popular arguments seems to be, it's too expensive. But the reality is it's around $56 million per year. So that's about $1.50 per Canadian per year to support the monarchy.
Well,
which
and
it's less than a RIFE scam.
But and remember, I've looked into this. This isn't money we send to the monarchy. All this is this covers the Governor General stuff, and it covers any of the visits that they actually that they employ coming to Canada. So we don't send a stipend to England. That's actually a misconception.
Yeah, they get a lot of their money through tourism in London itself.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, we're part of the Commonwealth. So you can move to different countries like Australia, for example, easier than you would if you were not part of the Commonwealth. You can also, if you're traveling abroad and you lose your Canadian passport, you can go to a British embassy. So that's another kind of like benefit that we have. Anything else you can think of?
Yeah, I encourage people to think what other than the perception that we have the king or queen of Canada, what's the downside just being
the way it is?
The way it is, and understand there's a lot of people that love it, and I know there's a lot of people that are against it. I was annoyed with how much money we spent on King Charles coming over here.
Well, and again, I think if we weren't in a recession, because no matter what the papers say, I think we're in a recession. I think we all feel it. We're in a vibe session, aren't we? But I think if that wasn't the case and Canada was doing well, I think people would have less of an issue with it. But I think because we're all suffering, that it's very relevant to point that out.
So,
Strange Brew asks, could the push for CBDC intensify as a way to fix this mortgage rate issue? I'm not sure how it would. What do you think?
I don't know. It's not going to fix anything in the short term because people are going to have huge problems. And people are having huge problems right now. So I don't know.
Sils, SLRSE asks, are all ballots the same? I ask as I've never voted, but the longest ballot issue. If there are 200 lines, can someone not post online what line Pierre is? So in a particular riding, all of your ballots will be identical. They will be different from riding to riding because they're going to have different names on them, different numbers of candidates, etc. with the last two longest ballots. So it was Toronto St. Paul's and the one in Carleton. Elections Canada did post the ballots online. I didn't see the Carleton one until after the election. But the Toronto St. Paul's one, I know for sure that they had posted ahead of time so that Canadians could see it and see what they were up against. That said, the ballots are alphabetical by last name. So you have in the first column, like A through however long, say M. And then on the second column, they'll pick it back up and then go all the way to Z.
In most cases, it's not an issue because you have one column, 5 names, 4 names, 6 names, however
on a
many
normal
names.
ballot, yeah, there's only like 5 or 6 candidates.
And it's like this big.
Yeah.
So as most of us saw.
I think there was 5 or 6 when we went to vote. So like it's nothing. It's like maybe this big. Like but again, I put the other one away, but it's a meter long. It's crazy. Ethereal Fox Production asks, you should check out the Hudson Bay Mountain in Smithers, BC. It looks exactly like the MP logo. Okay, cool. We'll take a look. Thank you.
Neat.
We should ask Vesper if that's where he took his inspiration from.
Yeah, maybe.
Zara London, how can the longest ballot petition help the Battle River Crowfoot not to have 200 people on it when it won't be read until September? So we did try to get this out as fast as possible. Unfortunately, it's not going to be read until September. It might not help this particular case, but it will help in the future because Elections Canada and Stéphane Perreault, who is the Chief Electoral Officer, has gone to the Liberals. He's been in committee to tell them, hey, we can't have this anymore. And the Liberals just ignored him. So we're hoping that if we get enough signatures, maybe the Liberals can't ignore it anymore.
And what I would like, and maybe we should encourage our MP to do this, I would like committee to start an investigation into the longest ballot committee. Bring in witnesses, bring in Elections Canada, because this is literally an affront to our democracy.
It is.
So I would like them to do that. And then we could write a brief and go as witnesses. So maybe we'll do that as well. But the good news is at least the petition will be read when a lot of people are watching. So it'll be read in the first days back of Parliament in the fall. So that's going to be the good thing. A lot of people were not paying attention to Parliament in June, which is when it would have been read if we had been able to actually get it in like ASAP. So unfortunately, and even then, folks, and even then, there wouldn't have been enough time to actually probably get through legislation to make the changes needed for that by-election. So, it's unfortunate that it's not going to be able to help in the Battle River Crowfoot riding, but we are going to be keeping our eyes fixed on that election, and if they decide to do any shenanigans, we will be right there.
Happy-go-lucky HTD for life says, I don't know, or sorry, how can Carney change any laws without going through the House? Wasn't rescinding a House matter?
So it could just be terminology. All he can do is he can make changes to content not within the law itself, but on the effect that it has. So for example, the law probably says, we haven't taken a look at specifically, but the law probably says something like the carbon tax, whereas the carbon tax rate will be set by so-and-so. So the rate itself isn't fixed in the law itself, where it says the carbon tax rate is 17%. It would say it'd be set by whomever. So that's probably the same with the DST tax as well. And that allows the government to be able to adjust the rate without having to go back into the bill, rip it open, and go to another vote in the House. So what he probably did is use an order in council to set the rate to 0. There's very, very little that they can change when it comes to orders in councils on particular bills. There's this false narrative out there that Mark Carney can make any change he wants to any law without Parliament via an order in council, and that's complete. Well, where is it?
Unmitigated horse pucky.
That's what that is. He cannot do that. He does not have the authority to do that. So the major changes in the laws, they have to go through a vote in the House. have to. So.
This is from Karen Allen. It says, Tanya, how long does it take to charge your car? So I have a 2021 Ford Escape plug-in hybrid, and I can finally plug it in again. They fixed it. And it takes, because I have a level 2 charger, it takes usually 3 to 4 hours for a full charge. And if you do the level 1 charger, which is just plugging it into an outlet in your garage, that takes anywhere from 10 to 12 hours typically.
And the only reason we have a level 2 charger is because Ford was so frickin' late with the car that they actually were bribing people with these to actually keep their order.
But I do like it. Now that it's fixed, I like it. I didn't like the idea of having a hybrid that I couldn't use as a hybrid, because I guess there was a recall that I wasn't permitted to plug it in for about 2 months. So they fixed it, and everything's working fine, and it's running great.
So.
This one's fun. It's from Iron Chef Barbecue. It says, what's your favorite restaurant in Hamilton?
In Hamilton.
I'm going to say, if you live in Hamilton, you probably know this place. It's called Hutch's on the beach, and it's right on Lake Ontario, and they have the best fish and chips in the whole city, and it's great. It's like this old school restaurant where you like line up to order, and then they call your number out and you go pick it up. It's almost like a cafeteria, but it's they've renovated the inside, and it's all really nice, and we just love going there with Vincent. They've got ice cream too, and he's
very retro. It's like
it's awesome.
60s, 70s
it's
diner.
fun. They used to have jukeboxes too, where you would put like a quarter in on the table and you could pick your song, but I think they removed those with the reno.
So yeah, we can go with Hutch's. That's fine.
Yeah, if you live in Hamilton, you know what I'm talking about. Even if you live in Burlington,
it's just neat. It's neat.
It's fun. It's a great place. They actually filmed something there one time. It was a couple of years ago, and it was for Netflix, and I don't remember what it was, but they had shut the whole restaurant down for 2 days because they were filming something. And we had driven by because we used to live like right by there, and you could see all the movie trailers and stuff. It was kind of interesting. Nancy Harris asks, how do MPs get selected for committee?
That's a good question. I can't give you a completely solid, accurate answer. I could just give you what my assumption is. So because I don't have a completely solid answer, I'll just say my thought is that they will look at the different MPs that themselves. I'm going to be assuming too much to actually give you a solid answer. So because I can't do that, I don't know. But
maybe that's something we can ask.
Yeah, we'll ask and then ask again in a future question period.
Let me copy and paste this one, and I will ask somebody hopefully this week.
Because different parties will have different procedures, and we'll see if we can get to the bottom of this one.
Because that's a good question.
It is a good question.
I'm going to do 2 more. This says, this is from Pexer Ruddy. It says, how bad for the political career of the finance minister this come and goes from the PM?
Well, it's not great for Champagne. Just saying.
Well, I think as a boss, we'll call it that, you don't undermine the people who report to you, especially you don't do it publicly or in front of other people. So, for example, we've had times where people will email us after a show and be like, your moderators muted me and da-da-da-da-da. Well, then you were doing something that caused them to require you to mute them. Like, don't come running to me saying I got muted and it's your moderator's fault. They know the rules. They muted you because you weren't following them. So, like, what do you want from me, right? But I just think as a superior, you don't undermine your people like that.
No, and I've had it done to me where I've actually made a decision in an email, and then my boss replies all and says, no, that's wrong, and it's like completely undermines my authority, and that's not the way to do it. The way to do it is to let your underling correct that decision.
Right,
now,
you pull them aside privately and be like, hey, listen, so-and-so brought this to my attention. I think this was the wrong decision. Here's why, blah, blah, blah. And then you work out a solution with that person, and then that person goes and fixes it.
Now, it all depends, right? Because again, we're talking government, not an organization, and there's different things that go on. Now, the only difference here is you can do that, and if Mark Carney said this, it's like, I know we said this, and I know Francois-Philippe Champagne said this, but after, we had another consultation, reviewed the new developments, and as a group, we decided to change positions and then do this. That way, you're not completely throwing this guy under the bus. But here's the problem. Mark Carney doesn't care. And he's used to being Mr. CEO, guy in charge, doesn't give a crap. Francois-Philippe Champagne has said, we're going to be partners. Sure you will. Sure you will. This does not seem like a mutually beneficial symbiotic partnership. This seems like a coattails type of partnership where Francois-Philippe Champagne is trying to ride the coattails of Mark Carney, and Mark Carney just doesn't give a crap.
And last questions for Bubble Avenue. It says, is there an NP Nation meetup in the works? Yes. So on July the 20th, which is a Sunday, we are going to be at the Lakeside Park Carousel in Port Dalhousie, which is part of St. Catharines. And the meetup will be from 1 to 3 p.m. And we will be there selling and signing books. If you already have a book that you'd like us to sign, please bring it. Otherwise, we'll be selling them there. And you can ride the carousel free of charge for those 2 hours. And it's a really nice spot. If you've ever been there, it's right on the beach too, which is great. So, if it's a nice day, bring your swimsuit too. And it's this old turn of the century carousel that has hand carved wooden animals, and it is just it's perfect. It's one of Vincent's favorite spots to go, and my parents used to bring me there as a little girl, so it holds a special place in our family. And the event will be rain or shine because the carousel itself is covered. It's inside a pavilion, and the book signing area will also be covered. And we'll post a little poster about that sometime this week.
There you go. All right. Let's get back to the admin side of things. Okay. Dude it for $2. Standing up, Carney is bending over for Trump. Yes. Rob Dick for $2. No, the Nazis lost the election in the 1930s. Correct. They
I thought they won one and then lost a second one.
Well, they ran multiple times.
Yeah.
And
I thought they won the first one.
No, they won seats. They won some seats, but they didn't actually win power the first time. At some point, I think they won like 40%, and then they arranged for Hitler to be appointed as High Chancellor, and that's basically what can allow them to consolidate their power. Because after that, even though they had, I think, somewhere near 40% of the seats, they were able to eliminate their political opponents. And let's just say that.
Okay, so then I was mistaken. I guess they didn't win the election, but they at least won some seats.
Yeah, they won like a ton of seats. They had to run multiple times.
I was always under the impression that they won the first one.
Nope.
I guess. Okay, I guess I'm wrong. There you go.
They first tried to take over the country by force, and that didn't work at all. And then Hitler was thrown in jail, and then he wrote Mein Kampf, and there was a bunch of stuff. So.
All right. Thank you for that correction.
There you go. And No Senses Left member for 8 months. We used to have to pay quarterly for healthcare premiums. Was never free.
Which province was that? I'm curious.
But you're right. It's never free. Nothing is free in life.
Somebody was telling me a while ago, and I can't remember if it was in Canada or if it was possibly in... Oh, you know what? It might have been BC. It might have been BC that I had a friend tell me that they had to pay... like $80 a month or something so that they could access the healthcare system, even if they didn't use it.
Well, we pay it's just in our taxes in Ontario. So.
Yeah.
Spike and Mikey 33 member for 18 months. How does Mr. Carney keep up the elbows up rhetoric when every time he does, he shows off his rug burn? It's a great question. Goko Dining for $5. Proudly wear my CTF t-shirt. Taxation socially distancing me from my money since 1917.
Yes,
Fantastic.
and shout out to the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. They are awesome.
Amazing folks.
We love the CTF. So if you're not subscribed to their YouTube channel, make sure you go over there and subscribe.
They're great because they don't care who's in power. They will call all of them.
Everybody, and they just had their annual awards in Calgary. I haven't watched it yet. It's on my watch list, but no doubt it's amusing.
Scootaloo for $5. Just because when you get passionate and enter sarcastic mode, I giggle my butt off anytime. Yeah, I can do that. Manav Karana for $2. Our education system in Ontario is a joke, sadly. Yes,
Yeah,
it is. Jelly Beans for $5. Public education isn't meant to teach the populace about civics anymore, so that the people don't know what's going on. Easier to manipulate the people.
Yeah, it seems to be a lot more skewed towards the left than it was now. Like it's skewed towards social sciences and humanities and things like that. Instead
Gender
of
studies.
Yeah, instead of just like reading, writing, arithmetic, civics, etc. I know we, because we wrote the book, our publisher has been speaking to various teachers to try to push the book for us, and a lot of them are coming back and saying, we need a book for older children because there is nothing, like we don't have resources to teach these kids about our government.
Yeah, so they want something to just be able to say, okay, here's your book report. Read this.
Yeah.
Learn about civics. So, William Barnes for $10. Not only do the profs not teach about the cost of government overspending, they actually defend it by trying to teach that it stimulates the economy. Thank you for teaching this to Canadians. You're very welcome.
It's important, right? I mean,
Like, there are times to run a deficit. There are times to run a deficit, but then there are times to not run a deficit.
you know, like the last 10 years when the economy was not in the crapper, but now it is. So, oh, we passed 4,000 likes. I didn't even see that. I will drop some memberships right now.
Awesome.
Sorry, guys.
Listeners receptionist for $2. Captain Benjamin Sisko for Prime Minister. I don't know. I think you'd probably want Jean-Luc Picard for Prime Minister. Cisco is a little bit too feisty. Kim Allen for $14. You can repeal or appeal your MPAC assessment. FYI. Do you mean appeal?
Interesting.
Probably appeal. That I knew. We actually challenged our tax bill at City Council.
Oh, I remember that. So quick story. I was pregnant with Vincent and we lived at our old house, and our old house had been one house that was torn down, split into two lots, and then our house and the house next to us was built on that lot. I guess the city didn't get the memo that the lot was split,
so they taxed us for
because
both.
we got like this huge tax bill in the mail, and I was pregnant and very hormonal, and I was just like bawling my eyes out because of how much money we were supposed to owe.
Yeah, I remember I was on my way home and Tanya was just calling, crying, and I'm like, oh, geez. All right.
But they fixed it.
A crowded world talks for $20. Mark Carney's misguided ambitions have turned Canada into a model of stability, from a model of stability into a global punchline that was once respected is now ridiculed. Excellent work, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks. We do what we can.
And I completely agree. Jarsha for $5. I was thinking the other night, as long as Carney and Garretson are around, you should add the Think Mark meme from Invincible to your roster. Sure, we'll take a look.
Okay, I will write that down for you so that you don't forget.
Dana Wick, member for 17 months. Carney is going to finish off Canada if he doesn't wake up. When they fall, I hope it's very hard. Oh, and I think it's going to be... Again, this is different, right? It's not different when it's the same team and you have a different leader. Because if things don't change, then people are not going to forgive them. So they may fall twice as hard this time.
Well, and look what happened in Ontario. At the provincial level, they had... What was his name? Not Del Duca, the other one. McGuinty. They had Dalton McGuinty in for a long time. And he was becoming unpopular, so they swapped him out for Kathleen Wynne. They won with a majority, I believe, if I'm remembering correctly. And when that was over, the next election, the Liberals lost party status. And in Ontario, party status, I believe, is 8 seats, or maybe it's 7, but they had less than party status.
Well, and their campaign line in that election became it transitioned from vote for us because we're better to vote for us because you don't want the Conservatives in.
Yeah, it was bad. Like maybe 3 days before the election, I remember this because this was the first and only time I voted for Doug Ford, was that they had Kathleen Wynne on the radio, not like as an ad, but they just had her talking and was saying like, we know we're going to lose the election, but please don't vote conservative so that we like don't lose as badly. Essentially, it was brutal.
Yeah, it was pretty pathetic.
It was embarrassing.
It was pathetic. 5W for $5. Aristotle's take on tyranny is as true today as it was 2,300 years ago. And Heather Marie for $7. Carney will drop the EV mandate in the next election in an attempt to get reelected.
Yeah, he might.
He could.
He might. But I mean, he's an environmental nut. He's not as bad as Gilles, but he's pretty bad.
Michael for $10. I agree with you from my last super chat of your response that the Conservatives will already have a plan to fix the mortgage crisis, where the Liberals will own that problem. Yep. That's my thought. And Kate Pacey for $5. Thank you very much. Gokodani for $5. Terrorism was originally defined in Oxford Dictionary as government by intimidation. That's interesting. JK for $5. Canada has become a colony for the world. We have allegiance to no one, and not even Canadians. We are being pulled apart, ethnic issues from everywhere, and that's the sad thing.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of, what do you want to call it, infighting between different groups that are coming to Canada. If you're coming to Canada, you should be leaving those issues behind. You should be wanting a new start, and you should be participating in getting that new start instead of fighting with the same people that you were back home. But this has been a issue for many, many years. Like back when my grandparents immigrated here, the Irish and I think it was the Scots were going at each other's throats. I can't remember.
The Irish and everybody were going.
Point being, it's not new and it's not like race specific either. But I think that's something that we really need to insist on. Maybe our government needs to put their foot down.
It needs to
like,
freaking stop.
You come here, new start, stop the BS from your
and if not,
place.
Deport their asses.
Right. Like
this isn't hard.
Because you're Canadian now. The other person that you're quarreling with is Canadian now. So stop it.
Lawrence Neal for $5. I agree we need to protest the EV mandate and the carbon tax. So would the local fire department be the place to protest that? Someone watched their video. Yes, I think so. I think so. Doo-doo for $5. For learning languages, we need to change how we learn to something like Babbel engagement and practice as we learn. Well, yeah, because if you don't use it, then you're never going to retain it.
Yeah, you lose it, right?
Lyndon Remdahal, thank you very much for joining MP supporter. Heather Murray for $7. Terminator had something to say about immigration on The View. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. So, for those that don't know, Arnold, he was on The View. I'm surprised he went on The View. And he started talking about immigration, and he's basically saying, no, these people come over and they have to work. They have to work. And if they don't, they should get out of here. Like, and he was essentially saying, if you come, like, you need to be coming and you're taking advantage of this country by coming here. That's the reason you're coming here. You have to give back. You have to give back to that country. It's your obligation to give back. And you saw this hand come in to try and, like...
shut him up?
Yeah. And he didn't care. He's like, get away from me. Well, he didn't say that. He was like,
that would have been funny, though.
But he kept talking, and he just went on, and I think he said a bunch of stuff that was counter to the far left narrative, and they didn't like that. And that's why they were trying to get him to stop talking. So kudos to Arnold on that one. They won't be inviting me back. Scotty, member for 1 month. What? You don't like the mosaic? No.
I don't know. Unity is important for a country.
Gokodani for $10. By accepting millions of refugees from war-torn countries, all we are doing is inviting their wars in along with them. Changing their location doesn't change their ideology. Full stop. FIFO. Don't disagree. Don't disagree. FW or 5W for $5. This country was formed to keep power out east. Bilingualism is just another way to keep Westerners from gaining positions of power in government.
I don't know if that's true because you are not bilingual. You worked in government in the high position, right?
Yep.
And many of the MPs that we speak to are not fully bilingual. I think a lot of them pick it up from being on the Hill, but
there's also, like, within the government, there's also means to, quote unquote, quickly get people to be bilingual. One of the things they used to do is send people out to this one place in Quebec, and it was like sink or swim. Like you had to learn, and everybody does it. Everyone that went out there, I did not, because I didn't need to at that point. But you become bilingual very quickly when you have to, right? So, but
I think our education system across the country needs to do a better job. Again, if you want to be a bilingual country, then teach your citizens to be bilingual. Don't do it half-assed the way we've been doing it.
Yeah. Otherwise, you end up with these awkward, uncomfortable problems within the government, where it's like, well, everyone should be able to speak in the language in which they're. Well, the problem is like the one thing I didn't agree with, and I don't know if this is going to be a problem or not, but when Lori Idlow was in committee, she was speaking not English, not French, but her Indigenous dialect. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that because that's not the rules. Rules is English, French.
Yeah, but they've brought in the Inuk translators, right?
So
I suppose you could say, well, what's the difference because you're listening to the translator anyway?
Because it's not one of the two official languages. Like, my point is, if we're going to be enforcing that rule in government, then enforce it. Otherwise, don't. And then have translators for everybody. And it doesn't matter. You can be an English-speaking prime minister. Who cares?
Yeah, but what if you have somebody coming into committee to testify and they're, say, Italian or Spanish or Portuguese? Like, would you not have a translator available?
If they're not a citizen, sure. If they're a citizen, you should know one of the two languages. Should you not? Under the old system? Probably. It's a messy discussion to have. It's a really messy one to have. So, but I don't disagree. Like, should we like, why do we call ourselves a bilingual country when there's only essentially two provinces? There's basically one.
New Brunswick is the only officially bilingual province. Yeah.
Nobody else is. So why do we call ourselves bilingual? It's insanity is what it is. Because there's very, very few people outside of Quebec that actually are bilingual. Like, there's a smattering of people.
But again, it's because the provinces do not insist on teaching French in the Anglosphere or English to the Francophones, like, in a very meaningful manner.
Well, but that's true. But it's also because I think most of them are like, what's the point?
The point is, you want to be a bilingual country, make sure your citizens are bilingual. Like I said, my cousins in Belgium speak all three official languages because that's how they teach them over there. Now, you can argue that, oh, well, Belgium's smaller. Sure, but it sounds like they also have a better education system.
Well, this is the point. If we want to be bilingual, then be bilingual. Otherwise, what the hell are we doing?
What the hell is going on?
So, anyway, messy discussion. Kick 'em Blue for $5. Thank you very much. I hope the first thing Pierre says when he's back in Parliament is, I'm back! Can you imagine? Probably not. That's probably not what he's going to say. Hello, boys! From Independence Day, ironically. Scotty for $2. Why are you stalled at 185K subs?
I don't think we're stalled. We just hit 184 last week or a few days ago, or and now perhaps we're 185.
Well, I think number one.
Also, it's summertime. People aren't watching YouTube in the summer. People also aren't interested in politics in the summer.
Oh, it's 185 is what we passed. So there's a couple of reasons. Yes. Summertime, less people are watching YouTube. Definitely less people are watching politics. And a lot of people have, I think, they're probably still in that political fatigue from the election and all of that. we're not really too worried. I think, and we also we noticed across the board there was less people watching, like all the channels, and sometimes YouTube makes algorithm changes, that sort of thing. So it all depends. We're not worried about it. We're
gonna keep on keeping on.
Yeah, and we're still growing. Like yesterday, I think we gained probably.
Because we just hit 184 not that long ago.
Yeah, it wasn't too long.
We hit 185 within the last couple days.
Well, we hit 185 yesterday, so.
Oh, okay, there you go.
But like yesterday, we gained over 600 subscribers, but for a while it was pretty plateaued, and that's just because
it's summer, and Parliament's out. Our specialty is Parliament, right? So the things that happen inside Parliament and the procedures and the laws.
Well, and we're not going to sensationalize crap that doesn't deserve to be sensationalized.
We're not going to make stuff up just for views.
Like there's this one stupid video going on out there. It's retarded. It's.
Don't use that word.
Unmitigated horse pucky.
That's what it is.
That's what it is.
And it's this stupid video from an AI channel, and it's saying that breaking news just happened 1 minute ago. The Governor General has lost confidence in Mark Carney and has appointed Pierre Poilievre as the new Prime Minister. This is the type of crap that we warn everybody about. There are so many.
There's a lot of AI channels out there now, and they just scrape the internet for stuff. And
there's creators out there that don't know their butt from a hole in the ground when it comes to this stuff, and they're speaking with authority. They have no idea what they're talking about, and they want everybody to believe this crap. So use the SIFT method. Question us. Question everybody. Don't just take the word for it.
Well, and like Vesper was saying, don't trust it unless there's sources in the description.
Okay. Where was I? I was here. Here we go.
Oh, big stretch.
Sean, member for 5 months. Can new PMs revoke Order of Canada from... I don't believe so. I don't believe they can. Tony Gerasi for $14. I like Kevin O'Leary's idea. We should work on a North American Union like the EU. We have minerals, LNG, energy. They have the US dollar and market. We each maintain our sovereignty with $1. That I can have a conversation about. And I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea. So that we can definitely talk about. So, and I think I have heard Kevin O'Leary talk about that. I can't remember what show he was on. I'm not sure if he was on Fox or something else, but he was talking about that. Heartsinger member for 16 months. Thank you so much. This has made my day, no my week, no my month. LOL. Caveman Carney at the circus sideshow, right?
Nice.
And Nellick for $5. Just so everybody knows, the APP does support Pierre getting a seat. We still feel he's the best leader for Canada, regardless of independence.
Good to know. Thank you.
Good. Awesome. And Whiffers SS for $7. Those who would still stand by the libs despite all the gaffes remind me of Homer Simpson chasing his flying pig. It's still good. It's still good.
It's just a little airborne. It's still good.
Kick and Blue for $5. Happy Canada Day, folks. It's July 1st here in Atlantic Canada.
It is. Happy Canada Day.
Happy Canada Day.
It's almost July 1st here.
33 minutes.
30 minutes.
And Janker for $2. Happy Kitty Tail. Carol Realm for $5. Songs we'll sing at church tomorrow for Canada Day. Oh God, all the many lands. Oh Canada. And the Maple Leaf Forever. Have a good Canada Day, y'all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And have a good day. Bradley Gagne for $5 posted a petition to Facebook with explanation. Hopefully some of the 343 people that I do know will sign. Do you know, are all your friends members of Parliament? That's a weird coincidence.
That's ironic, yeah.
It's a weird coincidence.
Thank you.
Doo-doo member for 22 months. The $80 a month is BC revenue. You were thinking of Tanya, but we no longer pay that. It's now part of the taxes.
Okay, thank you.
And Marco Perusa for $5. What's one standout policy the Tories have proposed that Carney hasn't borrowed? but should be implemented. Repealing C-69 and the tanker ban. That's
I think that's going to be the biggest one, because it's going to have the biggest effect on Canadian industry as well as Canadians, like, as individuals, right? It's going to create better jobs. It's going to create more tax revenue. It's stupid to, like, cap yourself in the knee like this. I don't know why our government is insisting on it.
Well, and look at the approach, right? So the Liberals and Mark Carney's approach is be like, oh, we need national investment. We need jobs. Oh, I'm going to smother it and pretend that I'm doing something. Whereas the Conservatives and Pierre, they're like, I am going to write this policy that gets me the hell out of the way, and I'm just going to write policy that allows private firms the incentive to get their money in here and start building, and we will get the heck out of your way and allow you to do it. That's like it's a night and day approach to this. We have Kathy Hermanson for $5. Thank you very much. We used to pay Alberta healthcare premiums.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
And Julie Beans for $5. The provincial Liberal parties that have fallen out of party status, and as far as I know, haven't made any comebacks. The Ontario one is still struggling.
I think they've gotten party status again. I think they're up to like 14 seats, but the NDP is still the official opposition.
Yep. Laura Baker for $7. If we left the monarchy, what would that impact various treaties that were signed with the Crown, such as the Indigenous treaties, for example? No, because that essentially is for with the Indigenous peoples and the federal government. That's basically how that would be legally interpreted as. So.
Would it?
Yep.
Oh.
No census left for $2. All of Canada at one time paid healthcare premiums.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. I know here in Ontario, a number of years ago, they delisted a bunch of stuff, including eye care. So you used to be able to go to the optometrist and it would be covered under OHIP, which is the Ontario Health Insurance Plan, I think is what it stands for. And now you have to pay to have an eye exam. So what are you doing?
I'm just double checking something.
So I imagine this was before my time, or perhaps when I was very, very little and don't remember. Cute cat, by the way.
Yes, I just confirmed my my assertion that it would fall to the government.
Oh, for the Crown thing.
Yep. Carol Realm for $5. If you want a fun glimpse of Canadian and Ottawa bytown history, look up the Shiners War. French versus Irish lumberjack gangs fighting over jobs.
Oh, interesting.
There you go.
Thank you.
Heartsinger for $5 for your amazing Arnie impersonation. Thank you. Thank you. That Carney is an idiot. Elbows up.
Oh my goodness.
Janker for $2. Does Ryan speak meow? Nope.
They always come to me because I'm the one that usually feeds them. So I think he's hungry right now. And Pazuzu had a bunch of teeth out actually last week. And so he's on soft food only. So he's probably hungry now.
Whiffers SS for $2.79. Pazuzu could be your sergeant at arms.
Aw, he could be.
I wouldn't trust him.
He's a sweet boy.
He could be a page boy.
He could be a page boy.
Gokodani for $2. In the War of Language, English 1. Deal already.
I know, but you know, it's still really cool to learn another language. I always kind of like bug my mom, like, why didn't you teach me Italian growing up? And she's like, well, I didn't really speak it. I was like, you speak it better than I speak it, which is not at all. So
there you go. Michael N for $5, just like that stupid sign in Vancouver, which is completely made up. Yeah, right?
Oh,
right?
I saw that. Yeah.
This country has lost its way. Everyone needs to touch grass.
Yeah. Well, and I think this is what happens when a certain class of people like live in these ivory towers and they don't have real problems. They start making up stuff. But.
Next is Chili Beans for $5. Europe has better culture around knowing multiple languages. And
yeah.
Peter Witten.
Sorry, quick story. When I was a teenager, I went to France with my school, and our tour guide spoke 7 languages fluently. It's insane.
Do they speak Arnie?
That's not a language. That's an accent.
I just said hello. How was your day? Peter Whitten for $2. Happy Canada Day from the township of Chatsworth.
Happy Canada Day.
And Coco Donnie, remember, for 20 months, I literally just came back from refueling 2 of the largest outfitters yesterday, Cochrane and Folliet. Oh, I got it right. Trust me, they turn the world off. If you ain't a plane, boat, rod, and fish, zero attention to the R world. There you go. And Sean for $2.79, Carney's first 100 days, net zero, right? And Dudu for $50. Thank you so much. Kevin O'Leary about a North American Union is a bad idea. It was a plan originally meant to merge North America into a central government before merging into the EU for one world government, giving total power to select few people. There's part of the conversation. This is why you have to have fully vetted out conversations on this stuff. Excellent counterpoint. Excellent counterpoint.
Thank you.
So, anyway, folks, 11:35. For those of you that are, well, nobody's working tomorrow.
Nobody should be. Well, that's not true.
Extremely few people are working tomorrow. Probably people in some of the service industry and gas stations and that sort of thing. So, and essential workers,
first responders, nurses, doctors.
Anyway, thank you, folks, for working tomorrow if you are, and for the rest of you, crazy couple of days, and it'll be interesting to see what's going to happen. But there's some things that we're looking forward to in July, and as soon as we find them, we will be putting out videos on them. You can better believe that. Anyway, folks, the race for Battle Rover Crowfoot is now on. We will be paying attention to that and putting out some interesting content around that, hopefully. And we are going to be re-releasing our interview with Pierre with additional commentary as if we were reviewing somebody else's, but you'll be able to get some interesting extra commentary on what we were thinking during that interview and what we think after that interview. So thank you everyone for all of your support. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful Happy Canada Day wherever you are, and celebrate what there is to be proud of in this country. So thank you very much, everybody. Goko Donnie for $5. RTD #1 has to work tomorrow. LOL. Easy day. There you go.
Thank you, everybody, and have a happy Canada Day. Stay safe and have a great night.
And as Kelly McConney will say,
you guys are going to love this one.
Have a good night.